A frustrated young man in a pink shirt sat next to the car, shielding his eyes from the light, and thought about his bad day. His hands gently touched the smooth surface, emphasizing the resilience and passage of time despite all the difficulties. The young man got into the car, looking cheerfully and confidently into the camera, and announced that the driver had an order within a radius of 1 kilometer. His finger pointed to the GPS screen of his phone displaying directions. A notification informed him of an order and asked him to proceed to the address. The young man with pink hair lifted the phone to his ear and in a serious tone announced the urgency. He explained that he had arrived and would be delayed for at least 20 minutes. His eyes widened in surprise, drawing attention to the urgency of the moment. He kissed another character passionately, their emotions intertwined against the backdrop of delicate pink flowers, creating an atmosphere of sincerity. The woman sat in the car, reserved and confident, and looked at her companion with a firm gaze, emphasizing her confidence in the conversation. The woman, wearing a chic yellow dress, gestured confidently as she spoke, her playful grin and phone in her hand creating a striking impression against the cityscape. A message appeared on the screen congratulating the owner on completing the mission and informing him of the financial benefit from aid. The young man with pink hair beamed as he checked his phone, excitement showing on his face when he saw the successful confirmation of the order. A visually stunning character with vibrant pink hair and bright green eyes, he stood confidently, exuding charm and intrigue in the fantastical setting. The confident performer, dressed in a blue jacket and bow tie, captivated the crowd under bright lights, holding a microphone and surrounded by press. The figure stood against a backdrop of rising stock charts, holding a glass of red wine, symbolizing success and triumph in the financial world. Two men chatted animatedly in a stylish office, one in a pink shirt and tie, the other in a formal green suit, their contrasting looks highlighting the difference in their personalities. The group of people greeted the man enthusiastically, creating a playful and friendly atmosphere around him. Tall glass buildings sparkled as the sun refracted through their windows, and vibrant green leaves framed the scene in the foreground. Two men stood in a modern office. One was tall, with red hair, wearing a light brown jacket. The other, in a dark suit, was gesturing invitingly. The financial building stood against a bright sky, shimmering with all the colors of the rainbow and embodying the energy of the city. Jin Jinyan frowned in annoyance and stated that he had planned the project himself and should have the right to put his name on it and receive the commission. A bald man in a formal suit with a cigarette in his hand demanded clarification in a commanding tone, reminding him of his right of ownership and control. The figure stormed into the office, disappointment evident in every movement as he approached the desk. The man in glasses watched him, keeping his composure. In a noisy office, one man held a box of colorful objects and spoke hastily to another, reminding him that losing his job would impact his family. The young man looked at the photograph on his desk, which showed a smiling couple among bright flowers, remembering the joyful moment. A young man with soft features and pink hair carried a box, talking cheerfully, determined to find a new way after his parents' decision to abandon him. A modern parking lot appeared on the scene, lit by soft overhead lighting, with a bold P clearly marked. A young man in a pink shirt and light gray pants walked through the parking lot, holding a box and checking his phone. He looked at his phone, reading the touching breakup message, realizing the bittersweet nature of chasing a dream. He pressed the phone to his ear, frowning in frustration. His shirt was damp, his hair was tousled. An alarming message appeared on the screen that the number was unavailable. The agitated young man, holding the box, squinted at the light and exclaimed, expressing his disappointment about the terrible day. Despite the difficulties, life continued on its way. A young man, sitting in a car, wearing a pink shirt and a blue tie, raised the phone to his ear, preparing to send a message. His finger pointed to the phone screen, where a navigation map was displayed confirming the successful completion of the order. A parking scene unfolded. Cars were parked along the traffic lanes. An elegant car was maneuvering towards the exit. The driver was on the phone, confidently announcing his arrival and explaining that he had just finished applying foundation, which had taken 20 minutes. The irritated character was urgently talking on the phone while driving, demanding clarification about an early taxi order. His hand gripped the smartphone, his finger hovering over the screen, and an insistent statement sounded about the immediate cancellation of the order. The driver received an alarming message about the cancellation of the trip. His disappointment increased as he exclaimed in disbelief. The figure with bright golden eyes stared intently, its expression filled with surprise and tension. In a vibrant scene, a pink-haired character collided with a bespectacled figure, portraying a mixture of surprise and mischief amid the pastel colors. He couldn't believe his ears and exclaimed that he had never heard of a reward for bad reviews. His face expressed shock and disappointment. A character with bright pink hair and a playful demeanor excitedly explained the reward system, highlighting the various prizes, from cash to luxury cars. The excited character, with bright eyes and a wide smile, shouted with impatience, wondering why he was hesitating and urging him to hurry. His enthusiasm was palpable, celebrating the successful establishment of a connection between them. The pink-haired figure in the bizarre outfit noticed that the system suggested getting bad reviews to attract passengers, which seemed odd. The man listened carefully. The character, dressed in an elegant outfit and exuding confidence, flashed a peace sign while simultaneously announcing his ownership of the hotel and group contracts. The young man beamed with delight in the driver's seat, holding the phone in his hand, and exclaimed that the system was so powerful that it gave a big gift immediately after pairing. The phone, mounted in a car cradle, displayed a map. A speech bubble indicated a new order had arrived with the destination All Island, 1.2 kilometers away. The character, with a bright smile, reported on the phone about the successful completion of the order, expressing excitement in anticipation of a reward for his efforts. A woman in an elegant outfit greeted a surprised passenger in a white car, confirming his identity with an enthusiastic confession. An elegant, shiny white car stood parked, its surface shimmering in the sunlight, hinting at a luxurious interior. Vehicles moved along the busy road, making their way along the differently colored stripes as the sunlight softly illuminated the scene. In the car, an elegantly dressed woman bumped into a man in a shirt and tie and defiantly asked why he kept staring at her in the mirror. The young man, his shirt slightly disheveled, gripped the steering wheel nervously as he spoke quickly, trying to convey a sense of urgency and anxiety. The woman in formal attire was outraged when she heard her driving skills being insulted. The woman gasped in shock, her eyes wide in disbelief as she exclaimed in reaction to the unexpected event. The cars sped down the highway, a chaotic blur against the city. A voice was shouting insistently, begging the driver to slow down. The frustrated woman gripped the car seat, her panic evident as she screamed, sensing danger. The woman screamed in fear, her hands raised in a defensive gesture as she begged for someone to stop. Her anxiety created a tense atmosphere. In the car, a confident young man with pink hair smirked at someone off camera. He made a bold offer, hinting at freedom in exchange for respect. The woman, with her hair flying around her, screamed desperately, her voice echoing with grief, tears streaming down her face as she begged for her father. A voice rang out, playfully teasing, then a foot slammed on the brake, adding to the momentum of the scene. A sleek silver car pulled up to the stately facade of the All Island Hotel and a voice announced its arrival, inviting us to get out. The woman stood in despair in the middle of the bustling city, her frustration evident as she clutched her phone and addressed someone off camera with an expression of disbelief. A message lit up the interior of the car as the driver received urgent news about the completion of his mission and the necessary documents for the financial company. The character beamed with enthusiasm as he stated that the financial company he represented was the same one where he had previously worked, and excitedly added that he would now be able to solve the problem. The restaurant's signage hinted at a culinary experience that embraced the island's flavors and culture, inviting diners to take a look inside. In an elegant lobby, a tall man in a shirt stood confidently with his hands in his pockets in front of a stylish woman in a form-fitting dress while the receptionist looked on. The woman stood confidently, her piercing gaze demanding as she asked how he dared follow her. The cheerful young man grinned as he looked at his phone and reported that the girl's father had long since taken his place there, while the stunned woman watched. A woman in a black suit stood at the front desk, holding out a phone, ready to help with confidence. The character showed the document, casually noting that the manager wanted to give it to the audience and urged them to keep it. The man pointed to a table with a document in his hand, where two women were sitting, having a casual conversation, creating a professional atmosphere. A young woman in a black suit approached a man at a table, informing him that his food would be ready soon. In the office, a man with a cup of coffee in his hands looked intently at a woman with long hair standing in a serious pose. The woman greeted the man in a stylish setting, introducing herself as a potential director, and he nodded in response. A young man with tousled pink hair took a sip from a white mug, gazing out the window, his expression serious but thoughtful. The man strode confidently between the two women, his presence drawing attention. The women, both stylishly dressed, exchanged knowing glances, hinting at an unexpected connection. The man in the suit looked sternly at the woman with bright blonde hair in a red dress, who cheerfully mentioned that she had seen a friend. The conversation heated up when one character sharply scolded another for trespassing, while the other confidently asked about his intentions. He took a sip from his cup and, looking straight at her, remarked that he was not that superficial, and that girls like her did not interest him. The atmosphere crackled with unspoken tension. A woman in a bright red dress leaned over the table, her gaze fixed on her interlocutor, creating a moment filled with anticipation. She stood confidently, her back turned to the man, who looked puzzled and unsure of the situation. The air was thick with tension. In a stylish room, a woman in a red dress gestured reassuringly with a confident smile, telling those around her that everything was fine and she would join in soon. The stern man leaned forward, looking at the girl next to him. He challenged, demanding an answer, asking worriedly who they were. He smirked, holding his coffee cup and leaning back casually. He pointed out that he was an ex, and that she had just broken up with him today, heightening the tension with a playful challenge. The cute chibi character with long pink hair and green eyes gestured playfully while promoting manga lib, his outfit combining traditional and playful elements. The conversation turned serious when the man in the suit began asking questions of the young woman, emphasizing the tension of their dialogue about the truth. A woman with long, light blue hair sat at the bar and looked thoughtfully into the distance, thinking about her past relationships. Mixed emotions were reflected on her face. The man hugged the woman with long, flowing hair with a warm smile, assuring her that it wasn't her fault. She thanked him with a quiet, "Thank you." A confrontation broke out between the two men, one clearly upset and the other sitting casually with a cup, the tension growing between them. The official ordered the young woman to discuss the matter with her manager while she stood ready to give an answer. The woman with her hair flying looked sharply at the seated man and asked defiantly why she had to leave, hinting at impending trouble. In an elegant, modern setting, a woman sipped her coffee with exquisite grace as she watched two men engage in a tense dialogue filled with unspoken conflict. The woman confidently raised her hand and addressed the man with questions about the stranger, arousing curiosity and intrigue. Not only did the man have a terrible temper, but he also demonstrated a complete lack of understanding, constantly trying to blame her for making the situation worse. He stood firm, his eyes narrowed, challenging her, demanding an answer. Tension filled the air. Mr. Han sat casually, holding a cup in his hand, and the woman stood next to him with her arms crossed over her chest, conveying an important message to him in a serious tone. The man in the suit glared, impatiently asking for the taxi to arrive, his expression tense and demanding clarity. A young man with striking features held a cup and asked questions, his direct gaze and confident posture indicating a readiness for confrontation. A man named Wu Hall confronted Miss Wang harshly, demanding respect and warning her of immediate consequences for disrespecting her aunt. A young man in a light pink shirt and a blue tie sat thoughtfully, sipping a drink from a white cup, thinking about his father. He addressed the group confidently, his manner assertive as he mentioned his father's leadership of Taiwan investment and warned against refusal. Three men stood in the dimly lit room, tension in the air. One, in a blazer, asserted control by gesturing to another while the third watched. The figure strode confidently across the textured surface, his polished shoes gliding smoothly with each deliberate step, emphasizing purpose and direction. Mr. Lai sternly scolded the other man for not informing him about the upcoming dinner, their tense relationship becoming increasingly obvious. A confident man was having a business discussion with a serious colleague, revealing the dynamics of competition and strategies in the hotel business. The man frowned, remembering the dilemma of his girlfriend's birthday and his problematic ex-boyfriend. He hoped the manager would get rid of him. He showed up on a date annoyed by a guy who was hitting on his date and clearly wanted to get rid of the manager. A cheerful man in a green jacket clasped his hands and confidently addressed the audience, his sly grin hinting at mischief. The relaxed young man was serenely sipping his coffee when two stern figures approached him with sharp eyes, clearly focused on him. A man with tousled blonde hair and a suit exclaimed with a tense expression on his face, demanding an explanation of the board of directors' decision. The stern figure demanded that the security guard remove the man, expressing disapproval of his presence and pointing out the disorder in the hotel. The manager insisted on the importance of proper distribution, deciding on the supply of products for the hotel, while a worried subordinate sought confirmation of the family investment. In the elegant office, two figures stood out. One casually sipping a drink from a cup, the other in a formal suit, radiating confidence. The stunned auctioneer exclaimed about the second bidder, while two women nearby exchanged expressions of surprise. In a modern office, a man calmly sipped coffee, thinking about the owner of All Island, and a woman next to him listened with interest. In a tense discussion, the elegantly dressed man firmly told Mr. Yu that they would not accept his help in the future. The woman, with tears in her eyes, contemplated the breakup, clutching her phone. She hesitated, wondering if she should apologize. The woman dropped to her knees, clasping her hands in supplication, her voice shaking with regret as she confessed her past mistakes and their consequences. The tall blonde confidently declared her desirability, calling herself a beautiful woman who loved money. The blue-haired girl next to her looked worried. The two women exchanged conspiratorial glances, while a young man in a formal shirt and tie watched them curiously, sipping his drink. The man holding the cup joined the conversation, expressing surprise at the woman's past identity. The scene embodied a moment of revelation. The hand squeezed the cup so hard that the dark red liquid spilled out. A loud bang echoed around the room, emphasizing the urgency of the moment. The manager's disappointment pierced the air as he demanded to know why they hadn't been kicked out, his piercing gaze full of urgency and intensity. One of the men raised his hand in a greeting gesture and loudly confirmed that he understood the order. The other, turning pale, sharply demanded that the guards immediately remove the offenders. A woman in a bright red dress desperately pleaded for understanding as two men held her down, creating a tense, confrontational scene. One of the characters glanced at the casually sitting man and said that he was Zhang Lun, the son of the chairman of Tianmu Investments. Two men sat opposite each other. One, in a pink shirt, held a cup and doubted the need for investment, while the other, elegantly dressed, tried to reassure him. A heated standoff erupted in the elegant office. One man asserted his authority by demanding that the other be blacklisted, thus underlining the finality of the decision. The man pointed his finger firmly and defiantly declared that they should not touch him. His voice sounded authoritative in the elegant setting. In a posh restaurant, an elegant man offered to change the location of a woman's dinner, attracting the attention of those present. The man adjusted his tie with a smirk as he watched the scene. A mischievous look flashed in his eyes as he noticed that Miss Wang seemed to be attracted to someone. He smiled slyly as he turned to the woman with long hair and a confident posture, asking curiously about her companion for the evening. A hand gently reached out to a pink flower in the garden, and a voice offered to share these flowers. The man held the flower confidently, lifting it gracefully, and with a playful grin hinted at the past awkwardness. A woman with a determined expression stood in the office, cautiously assessing the situation. A relaxed and charming man handed her a flower, trying to get her attention. The man in the suit watched, as another man in casual clothes handed the woman a flower, emphasizing the sincerity of his intentions. A voice cut through the air in the room, angrily asking Wang Jiayu if he knew what he was doing. His shock and anger were obvious. The woman stated her position with firm determination, her voice demanding respect for her choice. The man exclaimed in irritation about his inability to touch another person, hinting at a conflict, while the woman thoughtfully weighed the implications of his words. A hand landed firmly on the shoulder, symbolizing ownership or control. A calm voice reassured the room that everything was under control. The man leaned closer, offering comfort, to which the woman quietly responded with gratitude, creating a moment of trust. In the heat of the argument, the man in the suit pointed his finger sharply and shouted an insult, causing a woman standing nearby to raise her hand in shock. The sudden grab of the wrist signaled urgency and confrontation, creating a tense moment. In a modern office building setting, one man grabbed another man's arm, his anger flaring over the way he was treating a woman. Someone's loud tirade swept through the room. An indignant voice shouted that this was garbage, causing an outburst of emotions among colleagues. The man tried desperately to break free, his pleas loud, but two imposing figures were advancing on him, emphasizing the inevitability of the situation. The hand gently tilted the bottle, pouring the dark red wine into the glass, creating a pattern in the flickering lighting. The man bowed slightly and formally introduced himself to Miss Wang as Yang Chen, expressing his joy at meeting her. In a bright room, a woman named Wang Ji introduced herself with confidence, holding a glass of wine in her hand and preparing for an important conversation. The pink-haired man laughed as he raised his glass, jokingly remarking that a bad review shouldn't spoil their meeting. Two hands raised glasses filled with red wine, their clink merging with the enthusiastic exclamation of celebration. In a posh cafe, a woman watched a couple thoughtfully, discussing the benefits of wealth with the man next to her. The woman with flowing hair enjoyed her drink, her gaze expressing undisguised curiosity about the affairs of someone else's family. He sipped his wine, thinking about the tragedy that had befallen his parents, and then turned to the driver with an unexpected question. A young woman in a cafe spoke wistfully of Suzu's hometown, confessing her desire to stay there. The man, with a confident manner of speech, emphasized the right to strive for a better life, contrasting this with the greed of some people. He raised his glass with a grin, offering her a drink, to which the woman responded with a smile, raising her glass in the bustling atmosphere of the city. The woman took a sip from the glass, leaving a bright raspberry mark on her lips, emphasizing her captivating nature. She asked the question with a playful smile, recalling the previous meeting and the reasons for her doubts. The striking figure stood at ease, radiating confidence and charm. The man raised his glass confidently, hinting at possible attraction, to which the woman retorted with a smile, questioning his external attractiveness. Their dialogue revealed the complexity of first impressions, highlighting the influence of emotions. The woman covered her mouth in surprise, realizing the sudden kiss. A pair of polished brown boots paused on the slippery surface, as if preparing for a swift movement, hinting at the upcoming step. In a stylish modern cafe, a man in a shirt and trousers approached a seated woman who held her drink confidently, their encounter filled with unspoken tension. The man with the striking features smirked, gesturing to the woman standing next to him. She covered her mouth in shock, realizing his directness. The woman gasped, her hands shaking over her mouth as her thoughts swirled. He had just rejected her. Why hadn't she fought back? The young man lay in bed, shirtless, his relaxed expression hiding deep thoughts. In the semi-dark room, the soft light outlined the contours of his body. He fanned. He quietly asked if she had left. The young man sat on the edge of the bed, wearing only shorts, his gaze unfocused, the sunlight streaming into the room casting a warm glow on him. A faint trace of red spread across the crisp white page, its contrast with the soft curves of the skin creating a striking interplay of color and texture. The young man with tousled pink hair opened his eyes wide, his bare shoulders showing uncertainty as he began to speak. He sat on the edge of the bed, stretching from sleep, his tousled red hair catching the light, heralding the start of a new day. His gaze fell on the money lying on the table. He thought about the payment for his services, recalling the events of the previous night. In this scene, the character thoughtfully watched the intriguing woman, her silhouette standing out against the backdrop of a modern, busy building, as if intertwining their destinies. A man with pink hair stood at the reception desk, greeting another man in a formal suit. He introduced himself as Yan Chen and was ready to pick up his things. The two men exchanged greetings. One extended his hand for a handshake. The first introduced himself as the manager. The second assured that he would soon complete the preparations. In a stylish office, two women in formal suits were discussing the new young boss. One leaned closer, whispering something, clearly interested in possible changes in the company. A hand held tightly to a golden envelope, raised above the sunlit staircase. Anticipation and mystery permeated the atmosphere. Mr. Yang stood at the entrance, handing over the envelope with a slight smile. He calmly informed that all the documents were inside, offering to check them. The protagonist firmly stated that he had no intention of working with a manager he could not trust, emphasizing the importance of honesty in leadership. A confident man in a formal suit gestured energetically, calling on the women to greet Mr. Yan, emphasizing the significance of the moment. The man greeted the two women, who stood at attention, their stylish outfits conveying professionalism, but their postures hinting at a slight playfulness. A young man in a smart suit stood confidently and asked for information about those renting the 15th floor. His companion, looking relaxed, simply confirmed, "Okay." A graceful hand reached out towards the silhouette of the device, shimmering in the soft light, anticipation evident in every movement. The characters were discussing important lease details. One with pink hair was relaying urgent information about the contract for the 15th floor, reminding them that it was expiring this month. Two men stepped out of the elevator. One, with pink hair and a casual jacket, looked intently at the floor numbers, while the other, in formal attire, followed him. Mr. Yang turned with a friendly smile to the colleague who was discussing the client, proposing a clear division of responsibilities. There was a sign hanging on the wooden door that read, Xinglun, its austere appearance arousing curiosity, hinting at the hidden significance of the space behind the door. A tall man in a light suit stood confidently in the office, his voice filled with enthusiasm as he addressed his colleagues, who were busy chatting at their desks. The two men were chatting in a lively atmosphere. One confidently mentioned the conversation about Mr. Zhang, while the other politely declined the offer. "Thanks, but no thanks." The man in the suit stood angrily, demanding that someone come out of hiding. He was gesturing wildly, his frustration obvious. "Stop hiding in the office!" he shouted. A bald man in a suit stared at someone off camera, his sharp tone questioning the other's location. The atmosphere was tense. A tense dialogue ensued, with one character questioning the other's decision to leave, pointing out the unexpected financial consequences. The bald man in the suit gestured animatedly, making his point. You want a commission, huh? Be a good boy and get back to work. Here. He offered $10,000 for 10 months, emphasizing the need for at least one deal a month. He confronted the woman, his voice full of disappointment. He reminded her of the promised commission, indignantly asking why she was speaking so casually. A confident man in a suit stood with a cigarette in his hand, making a weighty statement to the group, questioning their understanding of his demands. Two men stood in a modern office, deep in a heated discussion. The younger man was gesturing vigorously, while the older man watched with an inscrutable expression. The bald man, grinning confidently, asked if anyone had heard his previous announcement about the upcoming commissions, while two colleagues watched him closely from behind their desks. The young man with the distinctive blue hair gestured excitedly as he spoke, insisting that he must have misunderstood something. He stood confidently in the office setting. A young man with bright red hair stood in the office, his face showing irritation as he questioned the forgetfulness of his colleagues. Mr. Chan, dressed in a light blazer, attracted attention by cheerfully addressing another character, urging him to get back to work in a warm but authoritative tone. The bald man in the suit warned sternly. "Be smart. This is your only chance. Don't be stupid," he insisted. "Get back to work. I need to discuss the lease extension with the management." A casual conversation took place between two men in a corporate setting, with one of them lightheartedly offering to support his boss and the other recognizing the need to express gratitude. He came to work solely to earn money, frustrated by his inability to receive the salary he felt he deserved. A tense moment came when one man shouted for the door to be closed, while another stood nearby nodding in agreement, sensing the urgency of the situation. The hand clutched the orange object that was raised by the door, and an excited voice exclaimed, "Hello!" hinting that something amazing awaits on the other side. The man with red hair was speaking hurriedly into the phone, asking why the door had suddenly closed. He seemed concerned about his boss's well-being. A heated confrontation ensued, with one man pointing sternly at the other, warning in a threatening tone, "If you accidentally delete the post, you're finished." A hand reached out to grasp the edge of the sleek, modern screen, its reflective surface hinting at its surroundings. The simplicity of the frame contrasted with the technology it held. The bald man in the suit stood firmly, his hand outstretched and touching an object on the ground. The atmosphere was tense and electric. A confrontation was unfolding in the stern office. One agitated man held up his phone, accusing another of damaging the computer, while the latter, bald and imposing, dismissed the accusations with disdain. The man in the suit confronted the man with red hair, questioning his understanding of the phone's function, emphasizing the security of the stored data, and feeling under scrutiny. A heated conversation ensued when one agitated man questioned the purpose of talking to someone. Another responded coldly, suggesting that they first eliminate the person and then destroy the recordings. The bald man in the suit surveyed his surroundings, tension in the air. The sound of intermittent tapping echoed, hinting at an underlying urgency. A bald man in a suit approached Manager Chan, questioning his unexpected presence. Chan stood up straight, holding a folder, ready to discuss a lease extension. The man in the suit expressed his disappointment, asking why the door was locked during the day, and turning to Mr. Yang, hinting at pressing business issues. The bald man in the dark suit looked confused and asked, "Mr. Yang? Which Mr. Yang?" His face showed confusion about someone's identity. The room grew tense as the two men faced the stern figure. "Isn't he standing there? Mr. Yang is the new boss of our company," one exclaimed. The other, taken aback, replied, "What? The new boss?" Two men stood in a lighted room, engaged in a tense conversation. One asked, "Mr. Yang, what's going on here?" The other responded, apologizing for the delay. Manager Cheng firmly stated, "What do you imagine when you mention a new boss?" The atmosphere changed, and uncertainty hung between them. Mr. Yang had paid $2 billion for the building, and it was now his. The tall man gestured confidently, while the short man stood to the side, aware of the situation. The men stood in shock, their mouths agape. One wondered about the purpose of their labor, and another noted the odd timing of the building's purchase. Three men in suits were chatting, one looking serious and the other whispering, discussing the strange similarity of their names to their new boss. A dramatic confrontation ensued, with one figure shouting passionately, questioning the authority of the other in a tense atmosphere. Mr. Yang stood confidently, addressing the upset man who begged for understanding. The tension thickened, accusations filled the room. A bald man in a suit, gesturing with his open hands, asked about paying off the debt, offering to come to an agreement and forget about the topic altogether. Mr. Yang confronted the figure, asking about his previous employment there and the unpaid wages. The other man simply replied, "Yes." Tension hung in the air. In a tense office conversation, one man squeezed another's hand tightly, confirming the terms of a contract. The bald man snapped back, reminding him not to lose sight of the important points. The character, with a confident demeanor, gestured while holding a phone in his hand, offering a deal for $10,000 over 10 months and actively negotiating. Mr. Yang was firm, his tone clear. The past must remain in the past. The negotiations intensified, promising a substantial sum, setting the conditions for a lasting settlement. He defended his position confidently, insisting that he was simply seeking justice and expressing a desire not to engage in any more useless arguments. Tension is building in the office. The manager confidently addresses the team, reminding them of the importance of their work. Two colleagues listen intently, their eyes full of a mixture of anticipation and anxiety. Suddenly, the silence is broken by a dull thud as a boot hits the floor. All eyes turn in its direction, and someone's voice loudly demands to stop, spreading throughout the room and attracting attention. Mr. Yang stands up straight, his gaze steady, his face a mixture of frustration and determination. He stares at his opponent and calmly reminds him of the unpredictability of life, looking him straight in the eye. His voice hardens, emphasizing that the enemy must not be given the opportunity to escape. He sharply orders the enemy to leave the room, emphasizing his superiority, and his words cut through the air, increasing the pressure on the interlocutor. In the center of the room, two figures clash. One demands to discuss a matter, the other mockingly questions his authority. Tension hangs in the air. The bald man makes a tempting offer, promising a significant reward for help. The room becomes animated. The spectators look at each other, leaning forward with curiosity. In another room, two students sit at computers, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of their screens. They are completely absorbed in their work, oblivious to what is going on around them. Meanwhile, a bald man in a suit shouts angrily, demanding the phone. He promises a reward of $100,000, his tone conveying a mixture of urgency and frustration. A confident man wearing a light blazer makes assertive gestures while addressing someone off camera. There is a note of distrust in his voice as he questions the words of his interlocutor. Someone's hand is clutching a black smartphone. The background is darkened, creating a sense of hidden urgency. Something is about to be revealed. A man with bright red hair is hastily giving orders to security. He is on the phone about an urgent situation on the 15th floor. His two colleagues listen in silence, their faces tense. At the same time, a confident woman in a stylish outfit is relaxing, leaning against a bright car. Her posture hints at charisma and attractiveness. Two pairs of shoes move forward on a dimly lit sidewalk. Their footsteps echo softly in the silence. The text above suggests a 10-minute time span. Elsewhere, two women in black suits exchange puzzled glances. Their faces are filled with confusion as they discuss the manager's call. What was it about? In the hall, a commanding figure stands before a group of men, fists clenched. A figure in the center of the room challenges those around him, warning them of the consequences. The atmosphere is tense. The bald man's eyes widen, sweat slowly trickling down his forehead. He clutches a towel in his hands, his breathing ragged. The situation is getting out of control. Manager Chang confidently places the document in front of Yang. Yang smirks, casually covering his mouth with his hand, lazily assuring that all the details will be sorted out. A figure with an air of authority stands before a group of people. He questions their demands and asserts his position without appeal. In a stylish office, two executives are arguing heatedly. One accuses his superiors of working overtime without compensation. The other agrees, emphasizing the unfairness of their contract. A heated argument between two figures reaches its peak. One claims he was cheated by the commission, the other hides his indignation but remains loyal to his superiors. In a tense office scene, an elegant man points his finger firmly states that the fight against evil must continue, leaving no room for doubt. His voice sounds like an order. The door with the inscription Xing Lun is closed. Red ribbons with the seals "sealed" are pasted on its surface. Entry here is prohibited. A new confrontation breaks out. The bald man accuses the other of breaking the rules. He highlights the harsh restrictions they have to live by. A confident leader stands before the team, holding boxes in his hands. He is ready to present the advertising agency's new initiative. There is a sense of anticipation in the room. In response to his speech, two animated characters raise their hands. The first character enthusiastically declares his desire to participate, and the second enthusiastically supports the initiative, expressing his impatience. Their excitement fills the space, creating an atmosphere of excitement. In the background of the conversations, Xinglong speaks on paper, heavily defending himself. Irritation was evident, as he stated that this man was not welcome here and should leave. Mr. Yang stands tall, boxes in hand, while the man kneels before him, desperately pleading for the case to go to court. The power dynamics shift in the tense negotiations. He confidently stated that even eliminating Wu Zhenzang would not change his mind, adding dismissively that such people were useless and incapable of achieving anything significant. The man is violently pushed away, his shirt crumpling as he runs away in panic, while a boot threatens to crush him, highlighting the escalation of the conflict. Maxim, stands his ground when discussing possible delays in returning to work. Mismanagement could lead to individual complications while they all wait for proper notice. The character, with a thoughtful expression on his face, asks his boss a question about his unexpected promotion to manager, despite feeling inexperienced and fearing potential failure. A stylish man welcomes a woman by assuring her that inexperience is typical when starting something new. He is ready to learn under her guidance. A group of well-dressed men bow before a confident leader who stands tall and dignified, and express their appreciation with a collective cry of thanks. A young man in a light coat waves to his boss with a friendly smile on his face, while his colleagues raise their hands in a farewell sign, indicating that he is ready to part ways. A large sign reading "Parking" indicates that there is parking inside the spacious building, emphasizing the organization and convenience for visitors. The photo shows a man in a light green jacket walking away from a parked white car and stating his intention to start work immediately. The new order appeared just 500 meters from the driver, who sat tense and wary, gripping the steering wheel, determination etched on his face. An elegant car speeds forward, illuminated by overhead lights and a modern garage. The car surges forward, emphasizing the urgency of the moment. Against the backdrop of a busy cityscape, a pair of polished boots sits on the sidewalk, with an elegant white car next to them. A young man, amazed, exclaims about a girl who looks like a colleague. Nearby, another couple shares the moment. The city hums in the background. A man in a car stares at a woman and another man standing outside. The woman, dressed stylishly, exchanges an interested glance with her companion. The hand reaches for the car door handle, preparing to open it with purposeful intent, setting the stage for what is to come. In the car, a young woman with a bob haircut exclaims in surprise at the sight of a well-dressed man smiling confidently behind the wheel. A young woman introduces a man in a car, telling him about his past as a top university student, and noting his attractive appearance. He asks with mild interest whether this man was really popular with girls. The girl with the short, stylish haircut smiles thoughtfully, noting how popular he is with girls, but sighs, noting that he already has a girlfriend. In a dimly lit car, a young man with bright pink hair turned his gaze to a woman with a bob haircut and asked with mild curiosity about her marital status, subtly hinting at a serious relationship. A firm voice answered, breaking the silence. The woman confidently stepped forward, leaving no doubt in her decision. She declared that their relationship was in the past, and the breakup was final. He regretfully recalls how he refused many girls for the sake of one who now belongs to the past. The words hang in the air, mixing with the noise of the busy city. Inside the car, the young man gripped the steering wheel tightly, his eyes focused on the road ahead. His voice was firm as he spoke, trying to make sense of everything that was happening. Tension hung between them, as the man turned sharply to his companion, his gaze piercing. There was a clear mockery in his words, hinting that her decisions had no value for him. A woman recalls her declaration of love at the age of 19. Memories of the risk of rejection and the pain of unrequited feelings come flooding back with renewed vigor. After a while, he looked away, as if he had realized something. With a quiet sigh, he admitted that he did not remember what he had said earlier, and added that if there was anything unnecessary in his words, he was ready to apologize. The man in the car leaned forward slightly, his voice calm but insistent. He asked point blank why he didn't just quit his job as a driver and leave the company for good. Cheerful character enthusiastically shares exciting news about a marketing campaign, his gestures conveying genuine joy. He expresses gratitude for the opportunity to collaborate, sincerely believing in the success of the project. Stay. A young man with bright pink hair, sitting in his car, explains with a slight grin that he prefers working as a driver for an online taxi service to the traditional office routine. The woman wipes her forehead in irritation and impatiently demands that the window be closed, demanding that the air conditioner be turned on. Her impatience fills the car, creating an atmosphere of tension. Say character with bright pink hair and piercing yellow eyes leans in close, insisting on the promise of turning on the air conditioning. His voice sounds like he is making a deal, emphasizing the heated negotiations. The tension in the car mounts when the man in the front seat suddenly raises his voice, criticizing the passenger's familiarity and blaming him for the discomfort he has caused. The driver responds with restraint, but the inner irritation is palpable in his voice. Says. The woman tries to calm him down, warning him that he shouldn't be so impulsive behind the wheel. The man responds firmly, his voice cold as he reminds him that distraction could lead to an accident. In the back seat, a woman with short hair leans forward, her voice urgent. She makes it clear that if the situation does not change, the consequences could be serious. States. The frustrated young man grips the steering wheel tightly. The anger in his voice is clear, as he states that he shouldn't expect a bad review because he won't let anyone dictate his terms. The driver's voice cuts through the air as he shouts out commands. In the distance, an alarming flame flickers, creating a sense of impending chaos. Say smooth car tire, slightly flat, is shown nearby. It foreshadows a sudden accident that is about to happen. Say polished boot steps confidently onto the concrete, and the light reflects off its surface for a moment, emphasizing elegance and hidden menace. Says. The man throws open the car door, his voice booming in the night. He demands that you get out of the car immediately, his posture expressing absolute determination. Behind him, the young woman remains calm, observing the situation. The man with pink hair, smiling slightly, announces that he will stay in the car, and if anyone wants to enjoy the summer sun, they can go outside. Someone rushes forward in panic, screaming desperately, demanding that they stop immediately. There is a hopeless insistence in his voice. It's time. The man stands firm, asking a direct question about the location. The woman next to him looks confused, her eyes looking up at the sky as if searching for an answer. Say bridge stretches across the river, its steel cables shimmering in the sun. One figure notes that the bridge is closed and there is no way to get a taxi. Another wonders, confused, what to do now. Say hand emerges from the pocket, clutching a smooth smartphone. The device glitters in the rays of the sun, creating a sense of anticipation of the outcome. The man clutches his phone fiercely, his face contorted with anger. He firmly declares that he will file a complaint, get fired, and make the man pay for his actions. The silver car glides smoothly along the road. A message flashes on the onboard computer screen. You have a new bad review. Congratulations. The system rewards the owner with 2 million. Seat. The character behind the wheel smirks, his eyes filled with confidence. He mockingly remarks that it must be nice to stand in the blazing sun on the bridge in such heat. The phone screen shows a conversation between 4 people discussing a recent meeting. Their casual tone hides a hint of possible problems, creating an atmosphere of hidden tension. A polished black boot presses sharply on the pedal, the movement confident and sharp. The action, at first glance, is insignificant, but hints at the coming storm. A man with red hair stands at the entrance to the store, his gaze serious. He calmly explains that he has changed jobs and now works as a driver for an online taxi service. The hand confidently holds the smartphone. A chat correspondence flashes on the screen. The messages hint at hidden contradictions, discussions of a certain yawn, and barely veiled accusations. Escape. Against a vibrant cityscape, a confident man walks alongside a stylish woman. She holds a phone in her hand, and her face shows irritation over a recent incident. Her gaze glides over the man, but he remains unperturbed. The man raises his voice sharply. His demand sounds like an order. He insists on immediate action against someone, demanding that a message be sent. A mixture of anger and determination is clearly heard in his tone. The confident man leans lazily against the railing, gesturing animatedly. There is a challenge in his voice as he urges his companion to action, arguing that since he thinks he is smart, it is time to stop hesitating. A woman sits alone at a table, with 2 glasses of wine in front of her. She looks down thoughtfully, remembering something awkward, and then looks at the room number sign, pondering the hidden meaning of that number. At the end of the corridor, a door with an elegant sign, 1208, quietly rises. It seems to hold stories within itself, waiting for their moment behind a solid wooden partition.
Wang Liqing intends to invite him to dinner at the Hin Hotel and apologize for the past misunderstandings. A young man with pink hair smiles confidently into his phone, thinking about how his mood will depend on the coming day, unaware of the events to come. He stands on the bridge in the rain, shielding his eyes with his hand, enjoying the moment. His expression betrays a sense of calm in the midst of the raging elements. The elegant car glides along the wet road, raindrops streaming down its windows. The driver's voice sounds clear, announcing his arrival with a touch of formality. A young man, phone in hand, discusses with his friend how to survive a downpour. Determined, he insists on picking him up despite the adverse conditions. His hand grips a sleek kitchen knife, its gleaming blade catching the light, ready for action against a bright, calm background. A drenched man walks through the pouring rain, clutching a document. A stately figure in high heels next to him questions his identity, peering into his wet face. A woman, arms crossed over her chest, complains about the abundance of water on the ground, which makes it difficult for her to move. Her clothes are soaked with moisture, and her irritation is visible on her face. A young man with pink hair and bright green eyes stands in the rain, expressing firm regret. He notes that he has no services for the disabled, emphasizing his refusal. A woman in a red dress stands in the rain, her long hair falling down her back, her gaze intrigued as she ponders the cost of water. He throws out a line that she shouldn't worry. He can give her a clue and she can get there on her own. It's raining hard around them. A woman in a red dress stands in the rain, holding a bottle and scolding someone off camera. Her confident posture contrasts sharply with the anxiety in her voice. A man in a suit runs from the rain towards a woman under an umbrella standing near an elegant car. The surrounding area is blurred by drops. In the tense silence of the car, he reproachfully remarks that she has disappointed him. In response, she dismissively orders him to fasten his seatbelt. The young man with pink hair happily announces that they have arrived, sitting in the car and anticipating further events. She notices that she can't get out of the car because of the water that has accumulated on the ground. Frustration is evident in her voice as she stays put. The young man with the pink hair styled is clearly upset. He wonders how he can approach her, his irritation growing. The woman, holding the phone in her hands, sternly warns the interlocutor off camera. She is sure that in case of disrespectful treatment she will leave a negative review, emphasizing her authority. The conversation heats up. One of them insists on staying in the car, while the other suggests going outside into the rainy cityscape. The hand grips the key, ready to turn it in the ignition. This moment marks the beginning of a new adventure. He stands by the car under an umbrella, ordering her to stay while it rains heavily, hinting at the unresolved tension between them. In the rain, she announces her departure, holding a closed umbrella. He stops, surprised, as the tension of unspoken words hangs between them. She stands in the rain, furious, clutching the phone tightly. She threatens legal action, her voice cutting through the storm, emphasizing her determination. A woman in a bright red dress stands in the rain, holding up her phone and expressing surprise, while a man in a car watches her closely. A woman in a bright red dress and high heels stands confidently holding a phone as a car approaches, highlighting the tense moment of city life. The protagonist smiles confidently as he sits behind the wheel while the rain beats on the windshield, and sharply points out people's misconceptions about special privileges. In the car, a young man, upset, notices that his tea is gone. His irritation becomes palpable when it starts raining outside. A celebratory message appears, praising the recipient for receiving positive feedback and resolving complaints. Interestingly, the system promises a reward for correspondence, encouraging tenants to unlock perks. The car glides through the rain with smooth lines, its tires gripping the wet asphalt securely. The driver is impressed by the system's performance, noting its superiority. The driver asks his companion for a paltry 50 grams as she, dressed in white, appears unperturbed in the pouring rain. The character expresses surprise upon realizing that the starting price at the auction was over 200,000, which seems impossible even for money. In the dimly lit car, A young man with dyed pink hair screams in frustration, his expression tense. He is shocked by the high cost, exclaiming incredulously about the high cost. A man in a suit stands next to an elegant white car, with a cityscape rising behind him, and he opens the trunk. A man with pink hair, dressed in a light suit, stands near the car, cheerfully holding out a small package and enthusiastically sharing his offer. The young man leans against the car, excited, enjoying the aroma. He shares his stash, offering to try one pack. The landlord received another negative review about availability bonuses, urging tenants to remain calm while a courier delivered the necessary documents and keys. A young man sips tea from an elegant black cup, contemplating the luxury of the coastal area, valued at an estimated $500 million. The hand holds a smooth cylindrical container, raised above the receiver and ready for action. A woman with long, flowing red hair approaches a car, her black dress clinging to her figure. The man in the driver's seat watches her closely. The scene takes place in a car, where a man asks questions to a striking woman sitting next to him, who only stares ahead with a mysterious expression on her face. A woman with bright red hair confidently holds out a handful of money, offering it to the driver to take. There is a sense of boldness and confidence in her demeanor. The man calmly explains that this is not a taxi, but an online car rental service, and to continue the trip, the order must be placed through the platform. A woman with long flowing pink hair stares at him, her voice sharp. She demands that he just do his job and drive without asking questions. A man in shorts confidently approaches an elegant modern car, intending to take it for a ride. Inside the car, a tense scene unfolds. One man with bright pink hair listens intently, while another, clearly agitated, loudly demands that the door be opened. A woman with bright red hair falling over her shoulders sharply warns that if the door is opened, there will be serious consequences. Her fierce gaze increases the tension in the air. A woman in the back seat asks a man in front if he knows the man outside. He shakes his head, indicating that he has never seen him before. A man with pink hair, dressed in a suit, leans out of the car and starts asking about possible mutual acquaintances, showing obvious curiosity. The man outside, shouting words with furious energy, claims that the woman in the car is his girlfriend, demanding recognition of this fact. A striking woman with flowing pink hair vehemently denies his words, stating that they are not in a relationship. She stands confidently, emphasizing her disapproval of the situation. The man is overcome with emotion, shouting about money and booking, demanding an explanation. He clearly feels betrayed and upset by the whole situation. The woman with the bright pink hair abruptly ends the conversation, declaring that they are not in a relationship and warning him of the possible consequences if he dares to say otherwise. In the dim light of the car, two men begin a heated argument. One, with tousled pink hair, remains calm, while the other, muscular and insistent, demands that the door be opened immediately. Inside the car, the smartly dressed driver, radiating confidence, grins and suggests calling the police. There is tension in the air, mixed with a challenge. The girl with the long, bright hair screams in frustration, questioning her interlocutor's calm. Her anger contrasts with his calm reaction. An argument breaks out in the car. One of the passengers is unhappy with the other's expectations and, looking irritably in his direction, suggests calling the police if necessary. A sandaled foot steps carefully onto the sidewalk, the sound of its footsteps echoing in the tense silence. A standoff ensues as the man yanks open the car door, demanding that the woman inside come out immediately. She, however, remains equally adamant in her decision not to comply. There is a tense conversation going on inside the car. The woman is persistently asking for help, and the man, concerned about her condition, is trying to convince her to call the police. The character firmly states that she is not going to go to the police, since even in this case her family will not be able to afford to cover the losses incurred. A heated confrontation ensues in the car. The man insistently orders the woman out, his voice full of impatience. She responds defiantly, her tension palpable. The man leans closer, grinning confidently as he talks about the trip. His bravado is a stark contrast to her awkward demeanor, but he's not about to back down. The hand reaches out, clutching the key as it hovers over the ignition of the car. The moment is charged with anticipation, ready to explode into action. The tension in the car is rising. One of the men screams in frustration, but the other only grips the steering wheel tighter, determined not to back down. The figure stands with one leg raised resolutely, its gaze remaining cold, making it clear that no amount of threats will shake its position. A figure races after a luxury car, shouting insults. The city backdrop looms ominously, reflecting the tension and urgency of the chase. The man grips the device tightly, his jaw tense. He insistently demands to wait, and the air around him thickens with tension. An elegant silver car glides down a quiet street, the sun reflecting off its polished surface. From inside, an enthusiastic voice is heard, admiring someone's exceptionality. The woman remains unfazed, her voice cold. She makes it clear that she is not impressed by the compliments and calmly states that she will drop the passenger off here, leaving him to find another taxi. A black car suddenly pulls into the silver vehicle's lane, creating a tense moment. Both drivers are driving on a busy road, each watching the other's maneuvers with caution. Inside the car, tensions are running high. A man with bright pink hair is issuing furious warnings, while his opponent is shouting threats, which immediately escalates the situation. The woman screams in panic, her voice shaking with fear. She desperately tells them that they are being followed, knowing that staying put means dooming herself. The driver grips the steering wheel tightly, his face full of determination. He accelerates, and the landscape outside the car windows merges into a blurry picture of the city at night. The sleek black car seems to defy gravity as it takes off from the ground. The silver sedan remains on the asphalt, and their race turns into a tense, high-speed confrontation. A girl with bright red hair laughs loudly as she watches the accident, her expression beaming with mischief and her demeanor showing a complete lack of empathy. At the bus stop, bathed in sunlight, an elegant car gleams. Someone's voice is loud, insistently ordering you to get out of the car immediately. A woman in a revealing black dress leans casually against a car window, her bright red hair standing out against the dim lighting, her voice soft and seductive. A man with tousled pink hair stands, overcome with emotion. His voice is full of passion as he screams, questioning reality itself, and the light falls on his face, highlighting his ardor. The woman steps out of the car with confidence, her posture radiating strength. Her eyes flash with determination, and her hand clutches her purse tightly. She challenges without hesitation, loudly calling her opponent a coward. A woman in an elegant black dress gestures angrily toward the car, her red hair fluttering in the wind as she spews harsh insults of anger and disdain. The modern villa stood proudly under the bright sky. Its clean lines and large windows reflected modern elegance, drawing admiration from all who passed by. Now Mr. Yang held the keys to his new wine business in his hands. The confident man handed him an envelope with a smile, emphasizing the significance of the moment. The door swung open, revealing an elaborate frame. A playful sound came from the crack, hinting at the presence of something alive beyond. Two men stood in a sunlit room. One of them casually asked the other to fetch some clothes, creating an atmosphere of casualness. The hand clutched the smartphone, partially hidden by the pocket. The phone gleamed, hinting at its advanced features, while the life around it was seething with unspoken details. The man held the phone and spoke in a confident tone. He introduced himself as a secretary and arranged a meeting at the All Island Hotel for 3 p.m. The All Island Hotel stood against the bright sky, its glass facade shimmering in the sun. From below came a voice, full of apologies for being late. Yan Chen stood confidently in front of the distinguished auctioneers sitting opposite him, emphasizing the honor of their meeting in an elegant modern office. A well-dressed man greeted the new shareholder, clearly surprised by his youth and energy. A confident man in a suit approached the grim leader, asking questions about his identity as the chairman of the All Island Group. The atmosphere in the room grew increasingly tense. The businessman enthusiastically discussed the investment in Skycurtain, noting that the meeting focused on the allocation of capital in favor of All Island. The young man adjusted his hair, thinking about the investment opportunity in the Skycurtain. His concentrated expression hinted at ambition and strategic thinking. The men gathered around the table exchanged glances. Mr. Yang turned to Mr. Zhang, hinting at their shared past and asking about his reasons for being at the hotel. The man in the suit gestured with his hand, expressing concern. He hoped that no one would be offended by the ignorance of the youth, emphasizing his desire to resolve the situation. One of those present boldly noted that the son of the interlocutor had behaved rather insolently that day. The tension of the conversation hung in the air. The stern man with the tense expression insisted that for the sake of their promising future it was necessary to give in. His companion sat motionless, acknowledging what had been said but remaining silent. A man in a suit, his face contorted with anger, demanded to know why he should be the one apologizing, defending the girl amid growing tension. The tense negotiations continued until the young protagonist uttered a categorical, "No." He nonchalantly but firmly confronted the older man, creating an atmosphere of defiance. The young man stood in the well-lit room, his expression firm. He stated that he did not agree with the proposal to move the sky curtain to all islands, emphasizing his position. The man waved goodbye, saying he had other things to do. The other man, surprised, asked the reason for his departure. The door is slightly ajar, its shiny handle reflecting the light. An unexpected sound, "Ka," signals that something is brewing on the other side. The man, clearly agitated, slams his hands on the table, demanding to know why he should tolerate the situation. His confrontation hints at rising tensions. The man in the suit speaks authoritatively, urging Mr. Zhang to ease the tension while insisting that a discussion about their son is inevitable. A businessman leans forward at the negotiating table, offering a solution, emphasizing that if the problem can be fixed, it is best not to delay. The other man calmly straightens his tie and agrees, saying he will talk to his son. A man with slightly tousled hair stands confidently in a parking lot, checking his phone, leaning against a sleek silver car. His gaze suddenly flashes with recognition and he quickly approaches the white car parked nearby, confidently declaring that he has finally found the one he was looking for. A group of young people walk confidently through a modern space, their facial expressions sharp and determined. One of them excitedly announces an upcoming meeting. In a dimly lit parking lot, one man bumps into another, raising an eyebrow and asking how he got there, while the other stands defiantly, clutching a metal pipe tightly in his hand. A young man with pink hair, dressed casually, enthusiastically expresses doubt about his opponent's intentions, pressing his hand to his chest. His eyes flash with confident determination as he tightens his grip on the phone and declares that he will deal with him, but not now. A chaotic scene unfolds as three men brandish metal pipes and mercilessly beat a parked car in a display of naked aggression and tension. A hand holds a smartphone, capturing the moment. The focus is sharp, revealing the scene behind the screen. The intense gaze shows anticipation of what is to come. A confrontation ensues. One man, phone in hand, says he sees no point in recording the moment, while another, brandishing a bat, warns of dire consequences. The bright red car stands out in the dimly lit garage, bathed in its own brilliance. The sleek design hints at power and sophistication. A tall woman in high heels walks confidently, her long hair flowing down. A man in a suit watches her in surprise as she asks questions of the world around her. A man wielding a bat confronts a woman, demanding to know why she damaged his car. She responds by saying she will take responsibility and is willing to meet him later that evening. The man clutches a baseball bat and, with a determined expression on his face, declares that he will ruin someone's mood for breaking their heart. Tensions reach a peak when the man, clutching a bat, makes a sharp accusation at the woman and then angrily threatens to deal with her tonight. The woman with the long, bright hair gestures passionately, defiantly declaring that if she had the money, she would not even look in his direction. Her expression remains tense and unwavering. Two men stood in a dimly lit parking lot, one pressing for an explanation while the other was evasive, hinting at the complicated history that remained between them. 121. A young man in a suit speaks enthusiastically with his hand on his cheek, conveying a serious message about reputation and family respect. 122. Two men are standing in a parking lot, one of them laughing heartily with a playful look, while the other looks indifferent, caught off guard by the first's energy. 123. The young man leans closer with a playful grin, asking with interest about the financial situation of his interlocutor's family. In response, his opponent confidently states that their combined assets amount to billions of dollars. 124. One of the men asks with a slight grin whether his interlocutor is familiar with a certain person. The other calmly confirms, adding that his family actively invests in several companies owned by the man's family. 125. The character's playful grin hints at hidden mischief as he challenges his interlocutor, making it clear that he is ready to forgive him if he fulfills a certain condition. 126. A young man in an elegant suit, with neatly styled hair, looks intently, not hiding his determination, and demands to know what exactly is wanted from him. 127. Two characters are discussing a business proposal. One is enthusiastically offering a lucrative deal, while the other maintains a serious appearance, emphasizing the importance of business in the matter. 128. A man with short brown hair frowns, expressing dissatisfaction with the inaction in solving financial issues, and notes with disappointment that the loss of millions cannot be ignored. 129. The character confidently states that he still works as a taxi driver, hinting that this circumstance is of key importance and must be understood correctly. 130. A young man with soft pink hair, smirking slightly, raises the issue of one family's secrecy, while at the same time calling on his interlocutor to remain silent. 131. He nervously suggests inviting the girl's father to send a representative to their office the next morning at 9 o'clock to discuss important details. 132. Ms. Wang appears taken aback as she discusses an upcoming meeting with Mr. Zhang regarding Sky Curtain investment. The tension in the atmosphere underlines the seriousness of the conversation. 133. In a playful exchange, she leans against him, wrapping her legs around his waist, teasingly expressing her confusion. Their banter and closeness create a lively dynamic between them. 134. A man with a bat, frustration written on his face, confronts another man, demanding answers about his family's financial difficulties, asserting his dominance in a tense situation. 135. A man in a light suit confidently gestures in a parking lot, emphasizing that he has nothing against his interlocutor, but, as a major shareholder of All Island, he cannot afford to lose such a person. 136. A man, clearly shaken, shouts anxiously for a taxi belonging to the All Island Hotel Group, his face expressing urgency and concern. 137. In a dimly lit garage, one man collides with another, his voice full of frustration as he insists on the need to understand what is happening. 138. The hand reaches for the baseball bat, confidently squeezing the handle. The voice, full of despair, hints at the upcoming settlement, in which a rich heir with impressive titles figures. 139. In a dark parking garage, three men are arguing tensely. One, clearly upset, clutches his head, while the other two are heating up the atmosphere with anxious questions. 140. The hand holds the drink, the fingers gently squeezing the straw, creating an atmosphere of anticipation or tense anticipation. A man in a green suit persistently asks another why he was kept in the dark about an important matter concerning the hotel on the whole island. A confident figure with bright pink hair smiles as he challenges the other, teasing him with his thoughts on how simple life can be. The two officers race through the dimly lit garage, their urgency palpable. One of them loudly demands an explanation, asking who reported the crime. A woman with long, flowing pink hair holds up two smartphones with determination, declaring that she is the one making the call because her friend's phone is broken. Her posture conveys urgency and frustration. In the dimly lit garage, three men are engaged in animated conversation. One is gesturing wildly as he discusses his broken car, while the other is smirking, clearly intent on deflecting responsibility. A man in a suit approaches an officer in a parking lot, demanding an explanation for the towing of vehicles he is not familiar with. A man named Jachin stands firm, addressing those around him. He confidently states that the guy across from him stole his girlfriend, and now he intends to teach him a lesson. The uniformed security guard studies the note closely, wondering whether the situation could be resolved through compensation, given its complexity. The man smiles confidently, his face expressing self-satisfaction. He states that compensation is possible, but only after a court case. A heated argument breaks out between two people. One of them loudly protests that after the trial, money will no longer matter. The other counters by insisting that the damages exceed 5,000 and demands compensation. The uniformed figure points a confident finger, emphasizing his authority. He assertively states that wrongdoing has consequences, regardless of personal connections. The casually dressed man gestures widely, his confidence palpable, and asks if 100,000 yuan will be enough to settle the situation, clearly hoping for a deal. A man in a white coat, arms crossed, smirks as he dismisses the idea of a private settlement. He insists that only a court should decide. He confidently states that 100,000 yuan is not enough and insists that the cost of the old broken car is more than justified. The man points resolutely at the damaged car, insisting that it is not about money at all, he wants justice. The man in the light blazer smirks confidently, his gaze filled with hidden challenge. He notes that he does not need a job, because he will simply inherit everything that is due to him. Three figures stand with serious faces in the open air. One of the officers firmly declares that the man will have to go with them. The tension in the conference room thickens. One man stands confidently, while the other watches him coolly, analyzing his every move. He smirks, noting the similarities between himself and the other man, while the soft light of the room gives the scene a carefree quality. A smartly dressed man, clearly irritated, loudly asks if the sum of 500,000 is enough, expressing doubt that this money is sufficient. The character disappointingly emphasizes that it is not about money at all, his voice filling the room with tension. In a tense office atmosphere, a man in a suit throws a document down on the table, expressing indignation at the proposed amount, declaring that it cannot be $1 million. The young man with pink hair looks at the officer carefully, asking if he can leave. The officer, holding a document in his hands, confidently confirms that the conditions of departure have been accepted. The hand clutching a pen over a blank sheet of paper freezes in midair as an urgent command is heard forbidding further action. The man makes a confident proposal, his voice reflecting determination. He urges not to ruin the future and suggests meeting another time. A young man with pink hair holds a piece of paper intently as someone off camera hands him another one, urging him not to be distracted from the task at hand. His hand grips a pencil tightly, hovering over the paper, and a voice from off-camera reminds him of the impending threat associated with the numerous editors who have been watching him since he was 15. A young man stands with a notepad in his hands, frowning, peering at the silhouette in front of him, questioning the influence of an invisible threat. A heated argument breaks out between the two figures. One of the men shouts in desperation that they will see each other in court, while the other, with a defiant expression on his face, demands to return immediately. The receptionist smiles and hands the keys to Mr. Yan, declaring that everything is ready. He looks at her and asks if she has any ideas about the price. A confident young man clutches a wrench, confidently talking about the market value. His stylish hairdo and outfit emphasize his professional skills as a mechanic. In a casual setting, a man casually offers help while a woman in a stylish blouse watches him closely. A young man walks quickly along a city street, thinking about the need to urgently buy a car to avoid delays in taxi service. A sleek gold phone is pulled out of the pocket, ready for action, creating an atmosphere of anticipation. The system displays another complaint, triggering the bonus, while the bright figure confidently fills the scene with confidence and charm. The character glows with excitement, feeling triumphant. He accepts his success with delight, enjoying the moment. The girl tenderly hugs the guy from behind, whispering to him about the class of cars, and hints at using the vehicle as a taxi. The young man, with a cheerful smile, expresses his gratitude to the system, admiring its attentiveness, and the pink-haired figure leans closer, playfully teasing him. A young man with pink hair suggests to someone off camera that they go home and rest, while the city skyline shimmers behind him. The modern villa rises under clear skies, its sleek design reflecting the sunlight. The atmosphere is inviting, filling the space with coziness and comfort. 181. The figure relaxes in a wicker chair by a shimmering pool, enjoying a moment of peace. He notices how cozy the atmosphere is around him, allowing him to completely relax. 182. The figure sits cross-legged on an elegant chair, casting shadows on the lush grass. A modern house rises in the background, creating a sense of surveillance. 183. The scene takes place on a balcony where a woman in a turquoise dress holds an ice cream cone. She looks down at another woman in a gray outfit who is eagerly awaiting her response, announcing that dinner is ready. 184. A woman with long hair stands on the street, her face expressing seriousness. She clarifies information about the ownership of Villa No. 1. 185. The woman, cool and reserved, confronts the guard, demanding to know the identity of the young owner. She insists that he is not an elite. 186. A woman with long dark hair holds a drink and muses about a secretive man, suggesting that he may be from a noble family. 187. Two women stand on a balcony, discussing a man with insistence. One of them warns the other, emphasizing the importance of their conversation, while the bright sky heightens the tension of the moment. 188. A young man stands at the door, his face full of surprise. He is trying to understand the situation when a woman appears before him, introducing herself as the manager of Villa No. 8. 189. She presents the gift, expressing her joy at the new acquaintance and explaining that she prepared it especially for the neighbors. 190. A man with a brightly colored hairdo curiously asks a woman about her employer. She confidently introduces herself as Su Weinan. 191. A man named Yang Chen discusses with a woman the thoughtfulness of her employer. As a sign of friendly disposition, he gives her a gift. 192. An elegant modern villa rises under the night sky. A voice calls out to Mr. Yang to stay where he is while the other man hurries back. 193. A woman in a stylish dress converses casually, adjusting her posture and carefully observing her interlocutor. She shows concern and interest in his condition. 194. The woman confidently formulates her thoughts about the good character and family ties of the person. Her interlocutor agrees, confirming a future visit. 195. A woman in a chic, form-fitting dress stands confidently, expressing gratitude. A second woman, dressed in formal attire, responds in a friendly manner, confirming agreement. 196. A young man, elegantly dressed, stands with a glass of red wine in his hand. He is thinking about evening walks, but thinks that it is still too early. 197. A man and a woman stand next to an elegant car late at night. He gestures towards her, and she, listening attentively, gives him a light hug, hinting at a close acquaintance. 198. A student, clearly worried, addresses the driver in a serious tone, reminding him of her commitment to the university. She demands that the journey be expedited in order to make it by 10:30. 199. The character gestures expressively while explaining the details of the route. He emphasizes that the distance is 15 kilometers and the journey will take at least 20 minutes, which makes him nervous. 200. In a dimly lit car, a woman insistently asks her companion to drive faster. Their hurried dialogue conveys the growing tension of an approaching deadline. A figure emerges, foot poised sharply over the pedal, determination radiating from its stance. It knows it has no choice, and it rises to the challenge, urging its passengers to hold on tight. The car drives down the dimly lit street, headlights cutting through the darkness. The woman quietly thanks her, but the boy next to her asks her not to say too much, clearly wary of the situation. The young man, serious and determined, warns his companion that if he does not get to the hotel by 10:30, the payment will not be made and he will have to drive them back. Inside the car, a heated argument breaks out. The woman stares at him, demanding an explanation, but her companion is at a loss for words. The young man leans closer, his voice quieter and more intense. He insists that he made the driver speed up, and there is concern in his eyes. The driver grips the wheel confidently, assuring his passengers that he knows the route and will get them there in just 15 minutes. His firm grip and concentration back up his words. The woman in the back seat chats animatedly, introducing herself and curiously asking the driver's name. Her nonchalance contrasts with the tense atmosphere. Yan Chen smiles widely as he drives, making a comment about how they have deviated from their original route and are now following a new path. His tone is lighthearted, but his gaze remains attentive. The boy exclaims, his eyes wide, his voice filled with alarm. He asks sharply for directions, realizing that the situation is becoming suspicious. A confident young man grips the steering wheel, a slight smirk playing on his lips. He makes a pointed remark about the time, as if testing the passengers' reactions. The young woman holds the phone tightly, thinking about what is happening. She decides to offer to exchange contacts, confident that the older brother really does know all the roads here. Under a starry sky, a sleek black car pulls up to the university gates, its headlights catching the entrance in a sharp, focused beam of light. Elegant black sneakers shine in the light, their metal eyelets emphasize the style and sophistication of the owner. A woman waves her hand urgently out of the window, calling out to someone urgently. Her determined expression stands in stark contrast to the calm of another woman watching from inside. The young man in the car smiles, and the woman, standing out in her outfit against the night, playfully waves goodbye to him, thanks him and says goodbye. Two characters sit in a dimly lit car. One is relaxed and confident, asking a casual question about a delivery, while the other, tense, holds a phone and is clearly hesitant. The young man holds the phone, his eyes flashing with interest. He reads the message, and his expression instantly changes, hinting at unexpected news. The phone screen flashes with a notification of a new negative review. Concern grows, the realization of the consequences gradually covers the character. The young man grips the steering wheel tighter, his golden eyes fixed ahead as he contemplates the night ahead and the tasks that lie ahead. The character stares at a digital interface displaying moving blue shapes. The message confirms another negative review, causing him to consider the consequences. He stands there, illuminated by the starry sky, clenching his fists, and realizes that this technique has some kind of superpower. The intensity of his awareness seems to fill the cosmos. A tense conversation unfolds in the car. One person demands an explanation for a bad review, while the other defends himself, insisting on the need for clarity and directness. The young man leans back in his car seat, smiling confidently, and advises the driver to continue driving without distractions, promising to explain everything upon arrival. A sleek black car pulls up to a modern building and a voice inside demands an explanation for the negative review left. A young man with a determined expression holds a phone and urgently calls his friends, his concentration emphasizing the urgency of the situation. Two men with baseball bats approach a black car, demanding that the driver get out immediately. Their aggressive stance reflects the growing tension. The young man stands, eyebrows raised in surprise, his pink hair reflecting the dim light as he tries to make sense of what was said. A heated conversation ensues, with the character passionately laying out his recent disappointments, pointing them out forcefully and questioning others' commitments and decisions. The character nervously asks questions, showing his concern about the events of that night. He recalls a previous incident involving getting into a car and an unwanted conviction. A look of disappointment crosses the character's face as he steps onto the ground, his dark shoes contrasting sharply with the surface beneath him. Irritation sets in when he abruptly orders the passenger to get out of the car, clenching his hands into fists, and the passenger, confused, does not know how to react. A tense standoff ensues, with one character gripping the steering wheel, tense and focused, while the other screams outside, clearly agitated and demanding immediate attention. Three figures stand in a tense standoff near a parked car, weapons raised, one taunting the other, challenging him to a confrontation. The confrontation reaches its climax on a dimly lit street. One character brandishes a bat, demanding attention, while the other stands defensively, his expression a mixture of urgency and confusion. The illuminated figure confidently grips a bat, addressing someone with a mixture of amusement and mockery, playing on the edge of fear and survival. The confident figure gestures animatedly, offering a solution to the problem. His casual demeanor contrasts with the urgency of his words, indicating a carefully thought-out plan. The young man smirks, holding a baseball bat in his hands, his expression radiating confidence. He mockingly notes that his opponent seems resigned to his fate. A lone figure strides confidently down a dark alley, flanked by a group of menacing followers armed with bats, their intentions hidden in the shadows. A polished boot hits the pavement, causing sparks of energy as the figure prepares to take the next step. A narrow alleyway appears between the towering buildings, and echoes of screams and groans can be heard as characters express their grief and concern. The figure stood confidently in the middle of the dark alley, while two other figures lay on the ground, presumably unconscious. Tension hung in the air, leaving the feeling of a recent violent clash. The bald man, clutching his side, furiously accused his opponent of a brutal blow that left him with a serious injury. His voice shook with pain as he demanded compensation for medical expenses. The character clutched his chest, shocked by the force of the blow. Confusion crossed his face as he realized the power of the attack. In the light of the night lights, the elegant black car gleamed, its headlights illuminating the polished boot of a lonely figure, ready for a new meeting. A young man with bright pink hair waved his hand impatiently, beckoning someone over, standing against the backdrop of a star-strewn night sky. The figure held out a hand in desperation, as if trying to stop the inevitable, her voice trembling with fear. He had already learned his lesson, but was it enough? A tall figure loomed over another in a car. Tension was palpable in every movement. One of them confidently declared that he was not going to use force, while the other cautiously inquired about the reason for this unexpected meeting. Two young men were arguing heatedly. One was demanding a new car, and the other, clearly upset, was trying to explain that he understood the situation perfectly well. The sleek black car sped away, leaving a red trail of taillights behind it. In the distance, a lone figure stood still, its long shadow stretching across the shady streets. The name, Big Brother, was flashing on the smartphone screen. The caller calmly offered to pay for the ride, hinting that his man had been taken away. The young man with neatly styled hair smiled, holding his phone in his hand. He shared his thoughts about his difficult relationship with a medical worker, adding a lightness to the conversation. The figure staggered down the dimly lit street, clutching his stomach, a shocked expression on his face, and muffled sounds could be heard in the distance, adding to the tense atmosphere. The young man held the phone tightly to his ear, his voice tense as he questioned his interlocutor about his intention to use violence against the driver. He shouted into the phone in anger, openly expressing his frustration and emotion, insisting that he had only hit his opponent. The woman, against the backdrop of the fiery glow, spoke sharply and quickly, her face expressing rage. She demanded an explanation, clearly not believing what was happening. The smartphone shook in his tightly clenched hand. The frustration and urgency of the situation was emphasized by a short but sharp exclamation. The young man clutched the phone, his eyes blazing with anger. He announced his intention to file a complaint, demanding justice. The system detected another complaint from the owner, automatically triggering the reward distribution process. The owner was ready for the next step. The man, dressed in casual clothes, stood next to the parked car and grinned as he thanked for the support, considering this moment a real gift from fate. The young man lay on the bed, his hands behind his head, his face reflecting serenity. The sun's rays softly penetrated the room, creating a feeling of lightness and freedom. The young man stands confidently, surrounded by bubbling blue energy, announcing the beginning of the process, ready to embrace what lies ahead. Completion is achieved and the master moves freely, enjoying the sensation of absolute power. He looks around, realizing that he has no equal on this planet now. A young man with tousled pink hair stands with his arms outstretched, feeling the temperature change, frowning slightly as he assesses his surroundings. The character is struck by the legendary meridian cleansing, his hands involuntarily clenching as if he is trying to hold on to an invisible revelation, while a dramatic aura hovers around him. The action moves forward to the next day, showing a modern home bathed in bright sunlight under a clear blue sky. A young woman in casual clothes runs energetically towards a building while a man in black runs next to her, their synchronized movement creating a sense of common purpose. A sunny day sets the tone for the meeting when a woman in a tight top smiles at a man, greeting him and thus confirming their acquaintance. The young woman confidently approaches the elegantly dressed man, extending her hand for a handshake. She is pleased to notice that his disposition towards Mr. Young makes her feel satisfied. The figure with striking features waves goodbye, a playful grin plays on his lips, and in his voice you can hear the wish of good luck at the morning training. Confidence in the upcoming meeting shines through in his demeanor. The woman watches the man run, reflecting on his noble character despite his origins in an influential family, and wonders how she could help him in the future. The hand points confidently, and a glowing star emanates from the tip of the finger. Delight fills the character's mind when he remembers T. A finger hovers over the shiny doorbell button, a moment of anticipation filling the air before contact with the outside world is made. Mr. Yang stands in the doorway, his posture underlining the formality of the moment. A woman in blue greets him, her expression both friendly and playful. The character holds a cloth bag, grinning, and confidently declares his intention to share its contents. Bright rays behind him create a sense of joyful atmosphere. The woman receives the proffered drink with a look of surprise on her face, her eyes widening when she realizes it is tea. The young woman stands confidently on the balcony, her gestures full of ease as she calls out to Mr. Young, as if inviting him to join her. Her outfit attracts the eye, emphasizing her liveliness. A casually dressed man with bright pink hair apologizes to a woman holding a bag. She sips a drink and asks him curiously about his plans. A woman with a slight smile offers to make sure they have fresh water. Against the blooming background, her playfulness makes the moment light and carefree. The casual conversation continues, and the man confidently says that he will not drink, because he needs to pick up the car quickly. His words are filled with haste and determination. A woman in a pink dress comes down the stairs, loudly asking questions about the financial situation of her interlocutor, her gaze filled with both curiosity and uncertainty. He waved cheerfully towards the door, announcing that he was a taxi driver, and said goodbye carefreely. His demeanor filled the space with positive energy. A woman in a pink dress stood elegantly in a stylish room, her gaze directed at the man in the doorway, as if she doubted his wealth. The woman in the blue tunic held up a piece of cloth, looking puzzled, and curiously suggested that it might be tea. The woman in the pink dress seemed surprised as she questioned the tea in front of her. She instructed someone to take the tea leaves to an older man named Hungu for inspection. Two women stood in the elegantly decorated space. One of them commanded confidently, and the other, clutching her bag, quickly ran away. She crossed her arms confidently over her chest, smirking, and expressed doubt as to how a taxi driver could afford to be number one. The elegant car was parked in front of a modern building, the sunlight reflecting off its polished surface, while graceful legs in high heels approached the stage. The striking figure stood confidently in a white dress that emphasized her presence. The sunlight softly illuminated her, adding elegance and charm. A young man with a stylish pink hairdo leaned casually from the driver's seat, smiling confidently, and greeted the passenger, clarifying whether a taxi had been called. His hand gripped the handle of the car door, and his voice expressed doubt about the ordinariness of the transport, hinting at a discrepancy between expectations. In the car, a woman with flowing pink hair abruptly said that for this road you should drive a sports car or something similar. The man sitting next to her listened attentively. A striking woman in a white dress reclined in a luxury car, casually asking if her legs had become longer and more beautiful after waxing. The man confidently stated that if you speak, you can score no more than 99 points, and if you remain silent, 59, leaving no room for debate. In the car, the woman touched her lips in surprise, and the man, focused on driving, asked her to fasten her seatbelt. The sleek black car glided down the sunlit street as the driver's voice echoed about a reservation at Queen Mary's for dinner. In the car, a girl with long, flowing red hair exclaimed in delight, and the man behind the wheel nodded, enjoying the animated conversation about their time together. The young man with bright golden eyes expressed his reluctance to eat dinner, his pink hair softly reflecting the glow of the background surrounded by delicate flowers. A confident woman with long flowing hair interacted with her interlocutor, asking questions about his gender and teasing his sexual orientation, all the while maintaining her composure. They had arrived. One foot stepped out of the car with determination, its sound echoing softly, signaling the start of an important moment. The striking woman walked confidently past the elegant car, asking a bold question about preferences, aiming straight at the unspoken assumption. The conflict unfolded on a city street. A man was energetically gesturing towards a girl in a school uniform, and an elegant black car was waiting for him nearby. A girl stood on a busy street, raising her hand to attract the driver's attention, joyfully announcing her arrival. The cityscape was full of brightly colored advertisements. In the midst of the bustle of the city, a man sternly warned a young woman about the importance of payment, while she indifferently brushed off his concerns by simply passing by. The woman angrily protested her innocence, blaming the car for the collision with her bike. The man towered over her, clearly upset, as she defended herself by explaining that she had only parked for 10 minutes. The young man stood confidently on the busy street, holding a camera. He addressed the crowd, suggesting that they consider video surveillance to clarify the situation. The girl with gray hair and ponytails excitedly declared her confidence that she would find something after reviewing the footage. Her enthusiasm lit up the scene. The stern figure pointed out to his brother the temporary registration number on the vehicle, emphasizing the need to purchase a new car. Outside Bravo, a conflict was unfolding. Tensions were growing between the two young men, one warning the other to stay away from the business, accusing him of forcing the woman to give him money. The tall man with the fashionable hairdo gestured confidently, reminding that a man of his position should never forget the little girl. A man with long hair and a zip-up jacket asked sharply what this had to do with the other man, his gaze reflecting the tension of the moment. A man with pink hair is gesticulating animatedly on the street, explaining to another man in a gray shirt that this woman ordered a taxi and he is in a big hurry, and this guy is distracting him a lot. The hand grips the bat tightly, ready for action. The voice warns that this is the last warning. The tension becomes palpable as the moment builds. The man, clutching a baseball bat, stares at his opponent. His fierce expression and harsh tone make it clear that conflict is inevitable. One of them points sharply at the luxury car, while the other, clutching the bat in irritation, tenses up, preparing for a possible blow. The young man, waving a bat, grins, hinting that cheap cars are not his level, while his opponent responds with a confident smile, not giving in an inch. The confrontation escalates, with one of them vehemently questioning the other's intentions, but the other one seems lost, begging to be left alone. Two hands are clasped, reflecting a desperate plea not to let go. This moment of unity stands out against the tense atmosphere. He steps forward, insisting that she knows the truth, while she stands nervously by, realizing that there may be no way out of this situation. She lowers her head and apologizes quietly, her voice shaking but firm. She is clearly seeking understanding for this unexpected turn of events. Two figures collide on a city street. One clutches a bat, and the other, without flinching, confidently responds, not giving in to the confrontation. He holds his instrument high, ready to face whatever challenges fate may throw at him. The light from the shop windows reflects in his eyes, highlighting his determination. The man with long straight hair looks wide-eyed, shocked by what is happening. He can only ask a question full of amazement. The man grips the bat tightly, his posture expressing readiness. He stands on the deserted street, assessing the situation before nodding in recognition of the gravity of the moment. The young man with pink hair and golden eyes remains motionless, his gaze full of power. He demands more, his voice filling the stage with tension. The hand hovers over the bat, the hesitation in the air. The voice desperately rises in the silence, begging him not to do this. The young man gestures vigorously, claiming that the wind most likely flipped the car over, and categorically denies his involvement in the situation with the girl. He exhales, his expression changing as he speaks, filled with unexpected bitterness. He always thought the anger over the wrecked car would be inevitable. A charismatic man stands in the sun, his gestures light and casual. He waves away the problem, suggesting that others relax and not waste their time. A casual scene unfolds outside the store. A man points toward a parked car, inviting everyone to move. A woman stands nearby, ready to follow him, and a third person watches the proceedings. A sleek black car sits outside a modern building. The man expresses gratitude, implying that without her the day would have been full of problems. The woman insists that it is fate, adding that she will not help anymore. The silver-haired girl blinks in surprise, not understanding why the boy would suddenly show kindness. Her curiosity grows as sunlight streams through the window. The driver, dressed in casual clothes and with a cheerful smile, drives confidently. He shrugs his shoulders, reflecting on the possible sudden change of mood. An elegant black car pulled up to a stately historic building decorated with colorful accents. The driver calmly announced his arrival, breaking the silence of the night. The girl named Yun introduced herself animatedly, her eyes shining with enthusiasm. She eagerly addressed the young man, inviting him to join a fun party organized by her neighbor. The character smiled, his eyes sparkling with playfulness. He waved his hand lightly in farewell, expressing gratitude for the pleasant time spent. The girl, smiling at her phone, confidently stated that if she needed help, she would contact him, leaving a hint about the possible continuation of their communication. Two hands held tightly to the phones, one pink, one white. An approving voice enthusiastically confirmed the agreement, emphasizing the joy of the moment. A girl in a school uniform stood frozen on the sidewalk, her long hair flowing softly in the wind. She watched intently as an elegant black car slowly approached. The pink-haired young man gripped the steering wheel tightly, lost in thought. Suddenly, he muttered to himself about feeling a little hungry, his voice sounding thoughtful.
The dark car's smooth steering wheel gleamed in the sunlight, its intricate design showing off against the textured road surface. It was the epitome of elegance and power. A man stood at the counter of a modern noodle shop, pointing his hand at the waiter and demandingly asking about his order. A young man sat alone at a table in a stylish cafe, lost in his thoughts. His gaze was fixed on a small plant in the center of the table. Shock overtook the young man as he looked at his phone screen. The message that flashed before his eyes left him with a mixture of curiosity and anxiety about his friend's unexpected decision. A vibrant street scene unfolded around it, combining modern glass architecture with historic brick facades that sparkled in the warm glow of the sunlight. Taking his time, the young man leaned casually on the counter, addressing a woman in a smart uniform. He asked her to check the situation in room 302. A tall man with reddish hair watched the woman in a stylish outfit. An unspoken tension hung between them. A confident man walked slowly down the stairs, followed by three women. Their expressions showed that they had taken his previous comments seriously, which promised an unexpected turn in the unfolding situation. Tension hung in the air. One of the characters begged for release, but the others assured him that they intended to fulfill their chilling promise. The elegant shoe fell to the floor with a clatter, knocking over the stool. The loud thud echoed throughout the room. In the brightly lit space, two men interacted, one stepping forward confidently, the other looking back anxiously. There was a tense anticipation between them. In a well-lit room stood two men. One looked surprised, the other smirked confidently. Words flew between them, filling the air with latent tension. The atmosphere in the room grew tense. The man in the light blazer turned sharply to someone off camera and in a firm voice ordered that the subject not be brought up. A confrontation broke out. One man motioned for the others to leave immediately, while the other stood defiantly, his sharp gaze commanding attention. A young man with tousled hair and bright green eyes stepped forward, pointing a demanding finger. He wanted to know what they had done to her. The tense conversation grew more intense, with one character anxiously warning the other, revealing the difficult situation they were facing and their determination to help their mutual friend. Puzzled, he held out the phone, wondering why she had sent him this message. The three men stood in shock, their eyes wide. The man in front gasped, his voice shaking with disbelief. The others only silently shared his shock. The man pointed his finger angrily and said that he was her boyfriend and that he was fed up with this nonsense. The woman, shocked by his words, covered her mouth, not knowing how to react. The young man with perfectly coiffed pink hair clutched the phone tightly in his hand. His gaze hardened as he challenged his companion. He was sure that calling the police would put everything in its place. A heated argument ensued, with one man, clearly agitated, accusing the other of complicity with sharp gestures and impassioned words. The man in the green suit walks away quickly, his anger evident as he looks back at the three women who are watching him, with expressions of concern and surprise. A heated dialogue unfolds in a cafe, with a young man with bright pink hair expressing his indifference, while a determined woman retorts, clutching an item of clothing in her hands. A man with striking features gently holds the girl's chin, his voice expectant as he calls her name. She blushes slightly, unable to look away. The girl looks up with flushed cheeks, her eyes full of longing as she silently begs Brother Ian to take her away from here. A man in glasses carries a woman in a white shirt and black shoes, his voice tense as he demands the staff open the room immediately. The atmosphere is charged with urgency. A bright light streams through a small crack, casting a beam onto the wooden surface and creating a sense of a mysterious presence beyond it. Brother Yang gently wipes his sister's forehead, his concern reflected in the gentleness of his gestures. She looks at him gratefully, feeling safe. The young man, casual but attentive, holds a cup, his voice relaxed as he asks the woman about her activities. They spend time in the interior space, enjoying a quiet conversation. A girl with soft gray hair sits in a thoughtful pose, holding a cup in her hands. Her thoughts wander to past events and unexpected invitations, leaving a slight, thoughtful smile on her face. The character crosses his arms, his voice sharp as he asks about what is going on. Distrust is evident in his tone as he points out the strangeness of the situation. A mixture of curiosity and reproach fills the air. A girl with long pigtails, in a white shirt and skirt, clenching her hands into fists, angrily declares her intention to call the police. Her determination is beyond doubt. The man in casual clothes confidently declares that bad guys should not be allowed to get away with it. The girl's eyes widen, her enthusiasm igniting as she resolutely agrees. The roof of the police car is decorated with a bright red and blue light strip that sparkles in the sun, symbolizing authority and readiness to respond to emergency situations. A man in a white shirt waves impatiently at the driver of a black and white car, his irritation evident in his abrupt gestures. The noisy city background heightens the tension of the moment. The woman stands next to a sleek black car, her stylish gray dress accentuating her poise. She waits calmly, without betraying any emotion. Telelan questions Mr. Yang closely about his unexpected appearance. The man gestures with the note, his expression hinting at the important revelation that is about to follow. The character warmly invites others for tea, her smile radiating hospitality. She eagerly wants to share this moment, creating an atmosphere of coziness. A young man with soft pink hair stands against a backdrop of flowering plants. He is grateful for the invitation but gently declines, promising to meet for dinner the following day. At the modern entrance, a young man gestures casually, offering to prepare something for tomorrow. A woman answers him in a firm voice, urging him to be careful. The scene depicts a modern home under a bright sky. One character expresses disappointment at an intruder, casting a pointed glance at another. A woman in an elegant dress holds a glass of red drink, casually exchanging phrases with another guest in a stylish outfit, mentioning dinner plans for the following evening. The woman, confidently holding a glass of red wine, offers to come tomorrow, emphasizing her elegance and intention in this gesture. The smartphone vibrates on the wooden surface, the screen flashing the contact's name and bright icons for answering or rejecting the call, creating a sense of urgency. The man sits comfortably on an ornate sofa, casually talking on the phone while the spacious room around him exudes elegance and sophisticated coziness. A sleek black car rolls smoothly down a sun-drenched street, catching the eye of a young couple, their bright hair contrasting with the busy city backdrop. In the car, two young men sit in the front, while a third, dressed in loose clothing, lounges in the back seat. The driver casually greets the passengers, reminding them to fasten their seatbelts. A bare foot slowly reaches for a shoe. The swirls of color in the background emphasize the intentionality of this action. A man in the back seat of a car leans back casually as he talks, his leg resting on the edge of the seat, creating an atmosphere of relaxation yet caution. In a taxi, a young man with bright purple hair, wearing a pink jacket, looks thoughtfully out the window, his gaze filled with curiosity and thoughts about what is happening. The driver, in a firm and commanding tone, declares that he will not allow you to travel without shoes and demands that you get out of the car. The character with the distinctive purple hair stands tensely, his gaze hard. He warns the interlocutor that if he continues on the chosen path, the consequences will be irreversible. A woman with bright red hair sharply accuses someone of his actions, demanding an explanation and responsibility, her voice echoing throughout the salon. The man states that he is a driver, not a massage therapist, and categorically warns that he does not intend to participate in such situations, offering an alternative. The young man leans back confidently in his chair, declaring that he has no intention of getting out, his determination causing confusion in his fellow traveler. A polished boot rests casually on the edge of the car, glistening in the light, hinting at the status and sophistication of the owner. The curious purple-haired man looks back, slightly puzzled, while the other, dressed in casual clothes, leans forward, waiting for an answer. The hand squeezes the fabric, creating tension, while dynamic beams of light enhance the sense of urgency in the moment. A figure emerges from the car, gesticulating wildly, his agitated voice echoing through the air, conveying extreme frustration. The woman clutches her head in despair, her bright orange hair a stark contrast to the look of alarm on her face as she screams for help. A girl in a bathing suit desperately calls for help, insistently pointing at the driver, while a group of guys nearby watch what is happening with concern and curiosity. The man with the bright pink hair passionately denies the accusations, calling them slander. Behind him stands another man, looking confused, stunned by the intensity of the emotions. Two men share a moment of disbelief. One chides the other for his lack of manners, resenting his arrival in such a luxurious car. A man with curly purple hair gestures vigorously as he speaks on the phone and questions the mention of an expensive car. The character, in a moment of frustration, shouts a curse word as he watches the shiny black car drive away, leaving behind a feeling of tension. The red-haired woman asks confused questions about the expensive car in front of them, while her companion, equally shocked, expresses bewilderment. A woman with brightly colored hair clasps her hands, apologizing sincerely. A man stands next to her, amazed by her sincerity. An argument ensues. One character, clearly puzzled, questions the other's intentions with fiery determination, demonstrating a clash of wills. A young man with bright purple hair and a piercing gaze raises his voice in disbelief and demands an explanation for the unexpected event. A girl with bright red hair confronts her interlocutor, annoyed, while wearing a revealing outfit with graffiti on it. Her expression remains firm, as she expresses her frustration at not being listened to. A cheerful woman with bright hair playfully offers to take off her boot if they know each other. Her teasing tone evokes surprise and intrigue. A hand reaches into the car's elegant interior, ready to grab something from a circular compartment, adding to the tension in anticipation of action. A young woman with shining eyes shouts from the car, impatiently announcing that everything is ready and offering to take her companion to dinner, not hiding her excitement. A hand reaches for the car door handle, and a sincere "thank you" softly echoes through the air. The young man, dressed casually, grips the steering wheel tightly. He apologizes, explaining that the rear-view camera limits his view while driving. A confident woman with bright red hair relaxes in an elegant car, wearing a casual dress with the words H3P3 written in graffiti style. A woman in a short dress and heels runs towards her car, her hair flying behind her. She screams loudly about her bag, which she left in the car. A black car speeds through the city, leaving behind a bag flying through the air, adding an unexpected detail to the cityscape. The man laughs, mocking the girl as she stands there upset, her wet shirt stuck to her body, and he enjoys the moment. A woman with fiery hair strikes a man, drawing attention to herself. The atmosphere becomes tense, embodying a tense moment of confrontation. The young man, irritated, makes dramatic gestures as the furry creature swims next to him. The woman, clearly upset, stares at him, doubting his intentions. A girl with fiery hair pierces the air with her voice, colliding with someone in a rush of emotion. Water cascades around her, amplifying her anger and urgency. The man smirks, his playful tone hinting at something frivolous as he apologizes. The redhead, however, looks annoyed, her expression clearly showing her displeasure at his antics, creating a palpable tension between them. The purple-haired man frowns as he looks at his phone, his determination evident. He is determined to leave a bad review and file a complaint. 4 technicians surround a sleek black car in a garage, carefully working with tools while one of them watches closely, ensuring that every detail is completed perfectly. A young man with pink hair holding a phone and a drink looks at the screen in surprise after seeing a new negative review. The reward system greets the delighted owner. Her joy is evident as she looks at the screen with delight. Her excitement is palpable in anticipation of the next moment. A cheerful character with a stylish hairdo holds a phone and a drink, his eyes sparkling with delight at the award he has received. The background shimmers with bright colors and stars, highlighting his jubilation. The hand holds a smartphone, which displays a message. The text specifies a meeting for tomorrow morning at the Balian Hotel, room 305. At a modern car wash, a confident man stands next to a sleek black car, holding a tool in his hands, while 2 workers diligently polish the car's surface. 2 chefs in crisp white uniforms stand next to an elegant black car, demonstrating professionalism and preparing to serve an exquisite dish. A young man with bright pink hair stands near the car, his eyes widening in surprise when he notices the people present. He wonders curiously what they are doing here. 2 chefs in crisp white uniforms stand confidently, one of them gesturing urgently towards a figure named Ian, discussing the special dinner plan. The scene unfolds in front of a brightly colored building, where a man gestures and instructs 2 waiters holding bags. Warm sunlight bathes the space, creating a lively atmosphere. The door swings open to reveal an elegantly decorated room filled with soft light that hints at the secrets hidden within. 2 chefs in immaculate white uniforms chat in a modern kitchen, one admiring a knife and the other humorously discussing the luxurious details of their culinary creations. The stern chef, arms crossed over his chest, lifts his mustache and warns his team in a commanding voice, demanding caution and forbidding them to touch certain items. The chef addresses his team with unwavering authority, urging them to remain focused and attentive. The staff in crisp white uniforms respond immediately, confirming their understanding. 2 chefs, dressed in crisp white robes and tall hats, conversed at an elegant sink, discussing the prestige of using gold in cooking. A confident young man stands at the entrance, a playful smile on his face. He leans forward, offering his help to the boss, assuring that he can bring whatever is needed right now. Mr. Yang, calm and composed, confidently assures the guests that they have nothing to worry about. They just need to be patient until the dishes are served. 2 men stand in a brightly lit kitchen. One of them smiles, expressing gratitude, while the other, wearing a chef's hat, responds with a polite acknowledgement. A young man with bright pink hair stops at an intricately carved wooden door, his eyes filling with curiosity as he hears noises coming from inside. A man in a casual white shirt pauses at the door, surprised. A woman in a flowing turquoise dress greets him with a confident smile, striking up a lively conversation. A graceful woman in a soft, light dress glows with joy as she enjoys the moment in Master Yan's house. The man looks confidently at the 2 women and smirks, noticing their interest in the chef, something he had not expected when they visited. A woman in a retro-style room gestures animatedly as she discusses the high cost of the paintings, pointing out that some of them could be worth millions. Deep red wine flows smoothly from the bottle into a clear glass, while a playful polka dot background adds a whimsical touch to the scene. A young man stands confidently with a bottle of wine in his hand, inviting guests to enjoy the exquisite dishes set on a generous table. At a generously laid table, 2 guests share a moment, one eyeing the exquisite fare and inquiring about the other's preferences. A young man with stylish, tousled hair holds a glass of red wine and smiles widely, expressing pride at a recent achievement. The woman is immersed in memories of her rich life, reflecting on the past associated with luxury and comfort. Mr. Yang raises his glass and smiles as his interlocutor asks curiously about his preferences in cars, implying a general interest in luxury vehicles. The character holds a glass of red wine, his relaxed demeanor contrasting with a hint of mischief as he admits he is already drunk and unable to drive. A woman with long hair sits at a table, holding a fork and knife, lost in thought. The atmosphere hints at family ties and unresolved feelings. A juicy steak, glistening with sauce, rests on a plate, and a friendly voice insistently invites Mr. Yang to try the dish. A young man with pink hair takes a bite out of the dish, holding a fork in his hand, and enjoys the taste, noting the crispy crust and the tender texture inside. On the patterned tablecloth, there is a plate with the remains of a fish dish, and a voice with obvious satisfaction pronounces words of joy. A stylish woman in an elegant dress confidently talks to a man in casual clothes, inviting him to go somewhere after the meal. The young couple strolled leisurely along the sunlit path surrounded by lush greenery, their conversation animated, reflecting the serenity of the moment. A huge figure towered over them. One of them expressed displeasure at the limited view, while the other remained unperturbed, standing confidently against the backdrop of the cityscape. Several men stood in the blazing sun. One, clutching a long object, calmly declared that this day would be their last meeting. The woman pointed angrily to the side, demanding to know the identities of the strangers and the reason for their presence. There was no answer. The guy with the baseball bat smirked, glancing to the side. His attention was drawn to the girl, who seemed charming to him, foreshadowing the inevitable conflict. The man motioned for the woman to move away, clearly unhappy with the situation. However, she merely crossed her arms, showing icy calm. Her finger jabbed out sharply, and her face flared with irritation. She demanded that everyone get out of the way and not interfere. The man, clutching the bat, looked at her carefully. He noted her attractiveness, but warned that her actions could lead to serious consequences. The tension rose when a young man with pink hair and a serious look stepped forward, accusing the girl of damaging his car. He confidently stated that he relied on his father's influence, making it clear that no one could change his position. His voice echoed through the tense space. The two attackers stepped closer, forcing the man to retreat. The woman, aware of the impending danger, desperately called for help. The situation quickly descended into chaos. One figure flew into the air, waving its arms wildly, while others continued to attack with devastating force. The woman stood over her fallen opponents with graceful elegance, appraising the one who had demonstrated outstanding fighting skills. Tensions on the street reached a breaking point. A short man warned a taller man to keep his distance, hinting at possible violence. The disagreement turned into a conflict. A young man with bright pink hair shouted a threat, his voice sounding especially menacing under the clear sky. The man, his eyes blazing with anger, pointed his finger sharply, accusing the invisible enemy. His tone was a mixture of shock and determination. One of the men grinned smugly, a mischievous glint in his eyes. He made it clear that he was not going to stop there, but was preparing the ground for the next step. The young man swung his arm sharply, creating a strong gust of wind that made his opponent pay attention. The cityscape loomed behind them, underlining the intensity of the situation. A trembling hand reached forward, desperately trying to stop the departing one, declaring that without him life would lose its meaning. One of those present, full of remorse, begged for forgiveness, but his interlocutor remained adamant, wanting to leave the past behind and sever all ties. Three friends walked together, their arms around each other, their laughter filling the space. A little further away, someone was watching them, his gaze expressing interest and slight intrigue. A woman interested in Mr. Yang's fighting skills asks about his training, admiring his skill. The young man, with a stylish, tousled hairstyle, smiles, his golden eyes sparkling as he shares his thoughts on the system, emphasizing the importance of creativity. A character with a fiery gaze exclaims, mentioning an intriguing opportunity related to the company's mysterious secret. A young man, deep in thought, expresses his feelings honestly, while a woman next to him listens attentively, pondering his words. The man offers to help Mr. Yan solve the problem, hinting at their friendly relationship and expecting his solution. Standing against a backdrop of sun-drenched buildings, he expresses gratitude and promises generous rewards in the future. Joyfully greeting his interlocutors, the character enthusiastically speaks of a possible friendship, hinting at a strong connection between them. A lively conversation breaks out in the park, and one of the interlocutors enthusiastically invites the other to attend an upcoming corporate meeting. Slippers are neatly placed on the floor, demonstrating care and attention to the one who will soon enter the house. While discussing, the two women talk about meeting a mysterious figure named Yan, weighing the importance of the event. The determined woman insists on the need to invest in the company, assuring that all the necessary data is already available. Dressed in an elegant blue outfit, the character calmly and confidently acknowledges his involvement in the project, demonstrating a clear understanding of his role. The building, decorated with lanterns, shimmers with sunlight, creating an atmosphere of excitement, foreshadowing important events. A woman in a stylish cafe looks at her phone in disappointment, surprised by the delay in response, while a man next to her watches her in bewilderment. During a tense conversation, the man speaks firmly and with disappointment, but the woman does not give in, meeting his pressure with a confident look. Lixin and the man in the suit stand in a well-lit room overlooking the city. She asks questions about the current situation while he watches her in confusion. With a smile and animation, the woman talks about a recent meeting, while the man, with his arms crossed, maintains a skeptical expression on his face. Wang Lixin is confronted by a bespectacled man who demands answers. He accuses her of deceiving him, pointing out the inconsistency of her actions. The two women exchange tense glances, one clutching her phone and the other insistently demanding responsibility for the situation. In the midst of a heated argument, a woman points angrily, accusingly, at a man who remains silent in shock, feeling the pressure of the moment. He turned away in irritation, remembering that these people weren't his classmates. He didn't understand why he had to teach them. In a modern bar, a man stood confidently, and a woman, dressed tastefully, made a gesture to him, indicating that it was time to stop arguing. Their conversation hinted at an underlying tension. The man made a dismissive gesture in a stern manner, making it clear that this man was not his equal, and ordered him to step aside. Then he added that the inability to accept defeat could only be determined by a person's success. He held up the wad of cash with an expression of annoyance, emphasizing that it was not a matter of lack of funds. There was a note of contempt in his voice. His presence at this meeting should have already evoked gratitude. The short-haired girl, blushing, pointed her finger expressively while talking on the phone. Her voice sounded like a plea for clarification. The man stood his ground, his gaze piercing. He insisted that this moment must be remembered. In a stylish establishment, three figures stood tensely at the bar. A fourth man confidently stepped forward, drawing attention to himself with every movement. The door swung open, its smooth surface reflecting the surrounding light, casting a shadow on the floor. The man smiled confidently, praising the dish, while the woman stood her ground, pointing out its high cost. A man in a light suit held a drink and asked his companion about the cost of the meal. She looked puzzled, considering his question. A young man in glasses and a suit exclaimed about expenses, clutching a glass. He turned to Lixin, revealing his tense financial situation. The woman nervously adjusted her jacket and said that she, too, had no money. Her voice conveyed despair over unemployment. The character smiled broadly, his charisma was felt in every movement. He asked the question directly, feeling confident in his superiority. In a softly lit room decorated with traditional art, the young man spoke confidently to the girl, expressing admiration as she listened attentively, her hands clasped. The slightly open door, illuminated by a soft light, hinted at the presence of someone behind it. The young man with tousled pink hair stood confidently, gesturing with his hand and apologizing. The sun shone warmly behind him. The man in the crisp shirt grinned at the woman in the flowing dress, playfully asking if she had finally broken her old habits. She answered with a confident quip that emphasized their closeness. The table was laid out with seafood and fruit. The woman expressed her gratitude to the teacher, and there was a light banter in the air. The woman in the white jacket looked disappointed and asked sharply how Yan Chen could leave her on the bridge. Her tone was a mixture of determination and irritation. The man held his glass of red wine tightly, his displeasure obvious. He looked at his interlocutor and noted reproachfully that he had nothing more to explain. The man with the glass falls silent, confidently speaking of past grievances. His interlocutor, listening attentively, is immersed in the tension of unspoken words. A woman holding a piece of food with chopsticks resolutely addresses a man standing next to her, forbidding him to interfere with her plans. The waiter approaches the table with a smirk, bringing several bottles of fine wine, while the woman straightens up, watching his actions with a slight smile. The man in glasses leans forward, grinning, and points to a bottle of wine, emphasizing its exclusivity and its cost of 10,000. A woman with bright red hair asks the price of an expensive wine. An elegantly dressed waiter confidently confirms that it costs 128,000. The man, worried, asks the woman why there is unopened wine on their table. In response, the room fills with a changed mood. Miss Van Lisken happily presents a bottle of wine, while another woman, dressed in white, watches the gesture carefully, trying to understand its meaning. The man assesses 2 bottles, declaring that their price of 260,000 is not justified. His serious gaze lingers on his interlocutor, who clasps her hands. A woman in a formal suit holds a note, her face unreadable as she states that this case involves only 2 people, and they were chosen together. A man calmly holds a glass of wine, deciding to pay the bill for drinks, not wanting any further arguments. The woman raises her glass. The man clutches the mask in his hand, Both remain serious, discussing orders and decisions. Two women in the room get into a standoff, one holding a bottle of champagne, the other forcefully holding the manager accountable for his actions. A man in a suit asks angrily about the situation, demanding to know who wants to return the wine. A woman in formal attire remains calm, standing nearby. Two men engage in a tense dialogue. One of them, with a worried expression on his face, refers to the other as the new employee they were talking about earlier. In an elegant kitchen, a professionally dressed man smiles as he holds a glass of red wine. There is anticipation in the air. The woman gasps, covering her mouth with her hands in surprise, while the man next to her remains puzzled, asking about the manager's strange behavior. The man points to a dish on the table and coolly remarks that it is not warm enough and not very tasty. A heated argument ensues, with the man shouting, losing his patience, while the woman remains motionless, awaiting his demands. A woman with long blonde hair apologetically expresses concern about the situation with the wine bottles, her voice clear in the bright interior. The man in the suit asks a question, expressing doubt as to whether they can really invite Mr. Yang to dinner, his confident expression underlining his easygoing attitude towards the situation. In a modern conference room, two men are engaged in a heated discussion. One of them is gesticulating furiously, trying to dispel the other's doubts. In a business conversation, one of the men demonstrates authority in his gestures, while his interlocutor calmly raises his glass, making it clear that he is counting on a pleasant evening. Sunlight falls on the wooden window frame, giving the room a special expressiveness. A group of people are sitting at a table laden with various dishes, and one of them calls on them not to delay eating, hinting at unnecessary delays. A woman with long blonde hair and an expressive gaze ponders why the hotel manager is showing her special courtesy, thoughtfully twirling her chopsticks. A confident woman in a black top notices that he is acting like her subordinate. Her intense gaze emphasizes the importance of what he said. He sits at ease, a glass of wine resting lightly in his hand, and there is a natural charm to his demeanor. One of the men insists on an explanation. How can his interlocutor afford such luxurious dinners, being only a taxi driver? Holding chopsticks, the character smiles and tells the other character that his father left him a small inheritance, leaving the other character to ponder this. Confidently adjusting his glasses, the young man mockingly points out that this means wealth, emphasizing the ambiguity of his words. The man sipping wine expresses regret, while the woman listens intently to his speech, her gaze lingering on him. He grips his chopsticks confidently, replaying in his mind the old taunts he had exchanged with his friend, the look in his eyes betraying a sense of satisfaction. A woman in glasses clenches her fists as she says something meaningful, the snow outside the window underscoring the seriousness of the moment. A lively voice comes through the open door, adding to the sense of urgency. The man in the suit grabs his interlocutor firmly by the hand and decisively informs him that a group of people have come in search of Mr. Yang. One of the men clarifies what the other has to do with the Voloshin Hotel, while the other casually adjusts his robe and the cocktail in his hand. A conflict flares up. The two men engage in a heated verbal altercation, and mutual accusations only increase the tension. The shocked man clutches his face as he realizes the implications of the sudden revelation. A woman desperately asks for help, fearing for her life, while a man listens to her intently. He holds the phone and peers closely at the screen, feeling the long-awaited date approaching. The manager firmly demands a solution to the problem, while his interlocutor, smiling, calmly assures that he will sort everything out himself. The man makes a confident, casual gesture toward those present. He notes that he is enjoying the food and hints at a desire to continue the conversation later. Dressed with impeccable taste, the man gestures to invisible guests. His understated elegance reflects professionalism, setting the tone for the important event. He stands at the threshold, dressed in a formal suit, with a slight smile, announcing that he will no longer cause inconvenience. The luxuriously crafted doorframe shimmers under the light, its smooth surface and clean lines evoking curiosity about what lies behind it. The guests sat around a large round table, laden with a variety of dishes, immersed in silent anticipation. A woman with a genuine smile raises her chopsticks, ready to enjoy the treat. She thanks her colleagues for their contribution, emphasizing the team spirit. She gasped, clutching her wine glass, shocked by the sudden wealth of one of the guests. This turn of events was unexpected for her. The man with clenched fists stands firm in his place. He realizes that if he had known about the family's wealth in advance, he would not have hidden anything. The door with the number 318 stands closed, its surface decorated with a gold plaque. Mystery is in the air. The young man smiles playfully as he stands in the doorway. The woman watches him, surprised, and intrigued by the unexpected encounter. The woman noted with embarrassment that after what was said she felt uneasy, and she still hadn't had time to change her clothes. An elegant lady is chatting energetically on the phone, her face glowing with interest. Pastel shades and blooming plants surround her. A chef in a white hat addresses an elegant man, asking if the dish is ready to be served. The man confidently gives permission. Juicy lobsters, steaks, colorful sushi are laid out on the marble table, and exquisite bottles of wine and tempting desserts stand nearby. He assesses her high expectations with a mixture of disappointment and curiosity. She maintains her dignity and looks back at him, holding a glass of wine. A glass of red wine sits next to a continuously vibrating smartphone, its screen illuminated by bright notifications. The young man stares at his phone, completely absorbed in his messages. There are seafood dishes in front of him, but he doesn't pay attention to them. The woman looks at her phone screen, her eyes full of anticipation. She ponders over the message she has received, trying to understand its meaning. The modern mansion sparkles in the sun, surrounded by dense greenery, hinting at the beginning of a new day. A young man tosses and turns in bed. A telephone rings nearby, sunlight casting soft shadows across the room. He blinks, gradually coming to his senses. A man lounges on a luxurious bed, talking excitedly on the phone. His casual clothes contrast sharply with the elegant surroundings as he enthusiastically discusses his business success. A young man with light pink hair hurriedly announces the news of the company's rebranding to Arcane over the phone, accompanying his speech with animated gesticulations. The woman, sitting at her desk, confidently gives instructions over the phone, demanding that the team return to the office immediately. A pair of feet in white slippers rest on the warm wooden floor, creating the illusion of calm amidst the morning bustle. A young man stands by the window, enjoying the sun's rays, noticing the pleasant weather and allowing himself a short moment of rest. A woman standing next to an elegant black car confidently asks about being late, her gaze emphasizing impatience. A young man with light pink hair and bright green eyes casually apologizes to someone for a delay in his order. The woman quickly reminds him that she is leaving in half an hour, hinting at the need to reimburse the cost of the ticket in case of delay. The young man stares at his phone screen in shock, realizing that he is running out of time, the urgency of the moment heightening the tension. A woman stands in the midst of the flames, consumed with rage, feeling an urgent need to act. A young man with tousled pink hair and golden eyes insists that he will hurry up with the food, reflecting the growing urgency of the situation. She puts her phone in her bag, thinking about the consequences of her absence, and realizing that they won't be able to leave without her. The woman quickly explains over the phone the reason for the delay, which is related to transport, emphasizing the importance of arriving on time. The man wipes his forehead, his face expressing disbelief, and his eyes sparkling with laughter. Unexpected calls can bring unexpected reactions. Inside the car, the woman clutches her phone, her frustration evident as she demands an explanation about their relationship. The sleek black car drives away, leaving the gleaming building behind, and a voice begs not to be upset and tells them where to meet. The elegant black car with a shiny rim highlights the combination of luxury and performance against the backdrop of a modern city. Tension rises inside the car as the woman sharply reprimands the man, but he remains calm, only escalating the situation. In a busy city, an elegant car stops at a traffic light, and a stylish man confidently approaches it, intending to intervene in the course of events. Inside an elegant car, a young man with pink hair holds a phone, thinking about an upcoming conversation in which his friend will need help. A black car is speeding down the road, reflecting the city lights. The young man wastes no time in demanding the location, promising to come as soon as possible. The modern building rises under a bright sky, its facade adorned with a bold red sign that reads, "University," marking the place of study. A man stands next to an elegant black car, his confident pose highlighted by the sunlight. He calls out loudly to someone, breaking the silence of the street. A young man looks at his phone screen, shocked by a new negative review. He can't believe it actually happened. The focus is on a character in a festive outfit who enthusiastically congratulates another, beaming with joy. Standing against a backdrop of bright flowers and stars, he proudly holds up the phone, declaring that he has become one of the fastest in the industry. The hand dives into the pocket, fingers touching the fabric, hinting at a hidden action that is about to be revealed. A young man stands on the street, looking puzzled at the sunglasses in his hands. Questions about the mysterious car are spinning in his head. A group of stylishly dressed people stand next to an elegant blue car, discussing its attractiveness and its mysterious owner. The men surround the sleek blue car, their attention riveted on the distant figure. One of them, distinguished by his style, raises his hand in greeting. A young man stands under a cloudless sky, beaming with delight as he watches his car. He proudly proclaims how great it looks. His gaze lingers on the stylish car, impressed by its design. A sudden realization makes him mutter that the car is not his. In a busy environment, a man in a white shirt loudly calls out to another, stylishly dressed man, demanding his attention. Two men are engaged in a conversation discussing money and mutual expectations. One of them casually alludes to a debt of $100. A lively dialogue ensues, with one man gesturing vigorously and pointing his finger while the other listens intently. A graceful hand gently clutches a luxurious handbag, the shimmering details of which reflect the light, emphasizing its elegance. A young man smiles as he shakes out wads of cash from his stylish bag, which shimmer brightly in the open air. The focus is on a young man with a calm expression on his face, while his two friends excitedly discuss finances. Fingers dive into the bag, pulling out wads of purple bills that shimmer in the light, creating an atmosphere of wealth and opportunity. A guy hands another guy a wallet full of money, urging him to take it, as if offering a simple solution. A man in a stylish outfit confidently holds several bills. His expression full of challenge, he is ready to offer even more if necessary. Two characters converse outside a building. One clutches a red cloth, while the other, dressed in casual clothes, looks skeptically at the possibility of easy money. The hand squeezes the bright red fabric, emphasizing the decision. The only word that sounds at this moment confirms his intention. A group of 5 people stand proudly holding a red banner with a declaration of love, their poses filled with enthusiasm. The man stands confidently, holding a huge bouquet of pink roses, his gaze radiating determination. 2 figures stand outside a lit establishment, their dialogue tense, the air filled with urgency. The girl rushes forward, her hair flying, while the other, frozen, considers the possible consequences. The figure with a bouquet of roses stands with confidence, his smirk hiding a whole story. The young man smirks at his companion, teasing him about his feelings, as the sunset's rays illuminate their conversation. A girl walks past 2 guys, one of whom is holding a red banner, the other a bouquet, hinting at a budding romantic scene. He brings in several baskets, explaining their purpose and adding a touch of cheerfulness to the situation. 3 characters are engaged in a conversation. One of them presents a bouquet, while the others exchange meaningful glances. The stylish man with sharp features doubts the driver's mediocrity, suggesting that there is something more hidden behind his calm appearance. The boy stands smiling in front of the girl with a large bouquet. His sincerity stuns her. Blushing and wide-eyed, he abruptly declares that they have met before and that he is irritated by the behavior of his interlocutor. A young man holding a bouquet of pink roses stands in the twilight, his serious gaze expressing urgency as he speaks words that hint at hope. Near the school, a boy, overcome with emotion, runs into a girl holding a bouquet, not believing her words about hostility. The figure in the rain clutches a bouquet, his posture expressing absolute determination. The girl with pigtails stands firmly, clasping her hands, emphasizing her confidence in the words that separate her from the persistent interlocutor. A group of people gather enthusiastically, holding a large banner and applauding, while a girl in a white dress asks with interest why they are helping. She joyfully calls out to her partner, hugging him amidst the crowd with banners, their excitement visible amidst the general excitement. A violent confrontation ensues as the man angrily demands that the situation stop immediately. The woman next to him looks stunned, covering her mouth in disbelief. Their meeting is unexpected. The girl leans in, apologizing for the first kiss, while he holds her gaze, taken aback but intrigued. A girl with long pigtails holds cards, her cheeks flushed. She confidently wipes the boy's face, her eyes sparkling with playful intent. He wipes his lips with a playful smile, noting the sweet peach flavor of the balm that adds a lightness to the moment. In front of the banner, a girl folds her hands in apology. The boy, puzzled by her actions, questions them, causing tension. The girl laughs, a smile plays on her face. She playfully touches her chest, as if dissolving in the lightness of the moment. The young man points his finger meaningfully, demanding an explanation of what is happening, emphasizing the tense situation. He stands there, thoughtful, his face set in determination. He says with displeasure that he should be left alone, as he is going to ask her out somewhere. A tense conversation breaks out against the backdrop of a cityscape. A man with bright hair insistently warns against trespassing on what is his. A young man with pink hair and yellow eyes faces his opponent. His voice remains calm but challenging. He asks directly if they are trying to threaten him. One of the men stands firm, pointing a finger at an invisible opponent, claiming that he is a real threat. The young man stands still, his voice taking on an urgency as he realizes he has forgotten to give the car's owner the license plate number. Receiving a notification on his phone about the number AUC 520, he asks with a smile why the system did not report this earlier. Two men meet near a blue car. One holds flowers, intrigued by the situation, while the other looks through his phone, hinting at their friendly relationship. He smugly declares that he always knew it was his car, standing proudly in front of the sleek blue automobile. A young man with slicked back hair stands confidently, grinning, bragging about an expensive car, hinting at its value, which exceeds all expectations. Pointing to an elegant blue car, the stylish young man addresses Lin Nian with a confident smile, arousing her curiosity. He adamantly claims that the car is not his, but the owner forgot about it, so he believes he can use it. Tensions rose as one man defiantly claimed the girl and his opponent retorted, demanding that he stay away from her. Their confrontation sparkled with unspoken rivalry. The elegant blue car roared loudly with its engine, its powerful growl echoing through the city streets, attracting the attention of passers-by. Conflict erupts when one character frustratedly asks how to start the car while another looks confused, which only adds to the tension of the moment. Two men stand opposite each other. One points a finger reproachfully, the other waves his hand lazily, expressing indifference to the accusations about the car. A hand slowly reaches for the handle of the blue car, impatiently preparing to open the door. A young man in casual clothes steps out of a car, his tousled hair fluttering in the wind. A cloudless sky stretches behind him, emphasizing the casualness of the moment. A sharp cry cuts through the air as he, consumed with anger, demands to know why the girl is in someone else's car. She flinches, her hands clenching nervously. Two young women argue heatedly near an elegant car, one warning the other of danger, their silhouettes casting long shadows in the sun. A girl in a school uniform approaches a boy with delight, offering him a ride and then a snack, her eyes shining with anticipation. A man with tousled dark hair stands there, confused, realizing that someone is using a machine he doesn't think exists. The disappointment is clear on his face. A young man with bright pink hair smirks as he sits in the car, tilting his head to the side, teasingly hinting at the obvious, radiating confidence. A man with an open jacket exclaims in disbelief as the air around him fills with electricity. He tries to comprehend the impossible reality he is faced with. The young man leans out of the car, his gaze catching on the girl. There is a call in his voice, filled with urgency and insistence. A girl with long gray hair and pigtails stands in front of a blue car, her eyes wide in surprise. She tries to figure out if it is really his car. A confident young man gestures with his thumb up, urging people to check the license plate, hinting at his confidence in owning a car. She notices the initials on the blue car, deducing that it has personalized plates, which underlines her surprise. A young man with tousled hair points impatiently at the car door, demanding that they hurry up. He insistently communicates his desire to leave as soon as possible. A sleek blue car shines in the sunlight as a young woman confidently approaches it, showing determination. A man stands with a bouquet of roses in his hands, traces of tears visible on his face. A woman nearby watches him, trying to understand the essence of what is happening. A girl with long hair grins as she peers out of a blue taxi, playfully commenting on her unusual job. The woman smiles against the backdrop of lush vegetation, her face radiating warmth. She thanks, hiding the uncertainty of what is happening. Two figures stand by a sleek blue car, one confidently asserting that they are friends, the other frowning with concern. The woman in the car, smiling animatedly, considers her options for further action, thinking about the possibility of taking a taxi. The young man stares ahead, his eyes reflecting a mixture of determination and anxiety. Memories of a girl from the past flicker through his mind. The hand reaches out resolutely to the blue button, the pressing of which could be a turning point. Inside the car, the tension is building. A woman in casual clothes hesitates at the man's proposal while he remains silently nearby. A foot in a gray sneaker confidently steps down the sidewalk. A yellow leaf falls nearby. A calm but convincing "okay" is heard. A blue sports car takes off, leaving chaos in its wake. People on the sidewalk collide, their attention riveted on the speeding car. In a brightly lit room, two young women discuss a sudden event. One of them expresses surprise, the other is deep in thought. He points sharply at her, claiming that she is a nobody. She stands calmly, arms crossed, not reacting to his theatrical accusations. A young man, holding a bouquet of roses, comments with a slight mockery on the girl's lack of a flashy car. She is momentarily speechless. Two figures stand on the side of the road, raising their hands to hail a taxi. Behind them lies a vibrant cityscape. The man stands confidently next to a yellow taxi, holding pink flowers in his hands, and notes that it may not be his car, but he definitely knows the owner. The man is talking persistently on the phone, demanding his sister's help in finding an article about a man who drives a sports car. A woman sitting at a table with shelves of books behind her discusses with her interlocutor her recurring purchases and the mysterious figure associated with them. A man in a stylish suit clutches a bouquet of roses and speaks heatedly on the phone, questioning the information he has just received. He stands next to a yellow taxi, thoughtfully watching what is happening and thinking about the mysterious man associated with the Badishan Hotel. The bright day illuminates the traditional restaurant, its red accents standing out against the blue sky, inviting diners. A man stands confidently at the entrance to a noisy building, noticing the slow service of a taxi. Two women nearby listen, their expressions unwavering. In a dimly lit alley, a girl with long hair holds a phone and asks about the location of her interlocutor, in surprise, looking around. The girl passionately confronts someone, sharply pointing her finger. Her posture emphasizes her determination in the argument. A man in a smart suit faces a confident woman towering over him. Their confrontation fills the space with tension. A confident woman in a fitted suit holds a black folder in her hands and speaks authoritatively to those around her, demonstrating assertiveness. The woman attracts attention with her actions, while the man watches her boldness, and the girl next to her is perplexed by their interaction. An argument breaks out. The woman points accusingly at the man, her posture expressing disappointment. He stands calmly, his shirt slightly unbuttoned, as if unperturbed by what is happening. A woman stands in the rain with a serious expression on her face, claiming that she cares for someone with all her heart. She gestures while talking to the man in a friendly manner, emphasizing the importance of using time wisely. Three figures stand near a sleek blue car, surveying their surroundings. A woman in high heels notices that there is no one around. Two friends are discussing their situation. One of them holds her phone anxiously, while the other expresses concern. A tall figure in a fitted jacket smirks, her hair falling down her back as she makes a pointed comment on someone's intelligence. Standing resolutely, the woman declares that she has the right to choose who to be with, and no one will stop her from remaining true to herself. The man next to her looks surprised. A man in bold clothing tensely confronts someone, raising his voice and demanding respect, asserting his authority. An elegant car is parked on the street. A young woman with an object in her hands is having an important conversation with an elegantly dressed man. She stands outside, phone in hand, confidently insisting that she had no doubt of his answer. A modern building rises behind her, contrasting with the bright sky. The character laughs, enthusiastically revealing his true nature and highlighting his talent for creating spectacular shows. A smooth shoe slips out of the car, its polished surface reflecting the light, marking the moment of arrival and achievement. A young man, dressed in home clothes and with a bright hairstyle, stands on the street and thoughtfully wonders why he can't just stay at home. In a noisy urban environment, a young man with red hair gestures animatedly during a conversation, while a girl with long hair listens attentively. Li and Yan confronts another. Tensions mount. He demands that the surveillance stop, but his opponent remains adamant. The confident young man playfully points his finger, declaring that his sister has checked everything and the racing car belongs to him and not someone else. A young man with tousled pink hair and bright yellow-green eyes looks curiously at the identity of a new person, while standing against a backdrop of soft, dotted flowers. He stands in front of a woman whose confident posture and direct gaze emphasize the importance of his job as a taxi driver. A stylish young man stands next to an elegant car, casually waving his hand while holding a cigarette, remaining relaxed despite the hidden tension. An elegantly dressed woman, surrounded by impressive figures, asserts the need to establish clear boundaries between her and her brother. A group of people in smart suits gather around a black car when one of the men rushes forward, provoking the others. The man in the suit looks at Mr. Yang with concern, asking about his condition, conveying the urgency of the moment. During the conversation, one of the men casually inquires about the identity of the other, who introduces himself as the restaurant manager, adding intrigue. A tense exchange takes place outside a high-rise building, with characters discussing the manager's behavior and expressing relief at someone's well-being. A woman in an elegant outfit whispers to the manager about the man's identity, her curiosity intertwined with intrigue. Mr. Yang, the new vice president, rushes forward confidently, demanding immediate answers about the company's expansion strategy. A girl with long gray hair tied into two ponytails gasps, covering her mouth with her hands, surprised to realize that in front of her is the owner of the second-largest hotel, the Tower. The conversation continues as he interrogates her about the secret, and she resolutely states her next steps. They stand against the backdrop of an impressive cityscape. The girl makes an enthusiastic suggestion, saying that it clearly wasn't due to her ignorance, and that she doesn't think it's black at all. Her words are filled with mockery and childish excitement. The taxi driver confronts the manager, persistently questioning his arguments. The woman standing next to him just watches silently, sharing his skeptical view of the situation. A man in a formal suit questions the responsibility of wealthy heirs, as if testing the limits of their influence. A stern man makes a sharp gesture at the entrance to a grand hotel, insistently demanding that the woman leave. Their confrontation becomes increasingly tense. In the midst of chaos, a clenched fist appears, followed by a sharp cry. Frustration and tension are palpable in every movement. The woman suddenly strikes, blaming the man in front of her for what happened. The man steps back in confusion, stunned by her aggression. The young man touches his cheek, looking at the girl's face in bewilderment, calling her sister and trying to understand the reason for the blow. A hand rests on the shoulder, as if creating a sense of closeness, while the gaze lingers on the significance of the moment. A woman in a business suit stands confidently in front of a man, while another person kneels down, expressing remorse. The figure opposite clenches his fists, interrogating his interlocutor with noticeable tension, and the surrounding shadows seem to emphasize hidden motives. Lin Yan, with cold-blooded confidence, blocks his opponent's path, demanding an explanation for the burden he is carrying. A hand hovers over a smooth gray rock, fingers poised to touch, and a tiny blue creature peers around the corner, watching the proceedings. A man approaches a sleek blue car, its modern look contrasting harmoniously with the classic architecture behind. A woman in a formal suit commands attention by confidently pointing to the side, while two men remain in the shadows behind her. A tall young man informs the girl about the car's malfunction, assuring her that he will cover all the expenses. A man in an impeccable suit confidently walks between two sports cars, heading forward with undisguised purpose. The determined figure delivers a powerful blow to the yellow car, emphasizing the urgency of the moment and its inevitable consequences. A woman in a noisy crowd challenges a man for his reckless driving, as the group tenses up to hear his response. The protagonist, standing next to a luxurious yellow car, confidently declares on the phone that he is the legitimate heir of the Lin family. The brother warns his sister, hinting at possible consequences, his gaze filled with concern for their shared past. The young man, tousling his hair, enthusiastically notes the rapid progress of his interlocutor, his words filled with genuine admiration. A tense exchange unfolds between the two figures, one bowing slightly, expressing uncertainty, while the other stands firm, insisting on the need for clarification of the upcoming meeting. The pink-haired character confidently suggests that an interesting conversation lies ahead, inviting the interlocutor to discuss the details if he is truly interested. A woman in a business suit confronts a man abruptly, showing no signs of irritation as she accuses him of ruining a carefully planned scheme. The young man with sharp features exclaims in bewilderment, questioning the logic of his interlocutor and expressing his distrust of his words. A group of 4 people gather in front of a modern building. A man gestures vigorously while 2 women in stylish outfits listen attentively. Around a round table, 3 people enjoy a meal filled with a variety of dishes and drinks, creating an atmosphere of culinary pleasure and unity. A woman holding a glass of red wine in her hand mentally reminisces about a past incident involving a man named Lin's reckless actions that led to an accident. The man speaks casually, continuing to eat with chopsticks, reflecting on his missed opportunities and unrealized talents. In a sunlit room, a young man playfully teases a girl, pointing out her indecision in choosing a dish while still holding a chopstick with a piece of food. The girl with long silver hair gesticulates animatedly, claiming that she invited him not to discuss trifles, but for a serious conversation. The girl in the plain shirt asks a direct question, and the guy with pink hair immediately answers, ready to explain the situation. The woman speaks with conviction, assuring that lengthy discussions have led her to a final decision that excludes the possibility of further discussions. A young man with a glass of red wine speaks passionately about the need for recognition, expressing concerns about the consequences of inaction. The girl with silver hair firmly states her desires, reflecting the internal struggle with circumstances that prevent them from being realized. Red wine flows smoothly into the glass, while the commanding voice peremptorily demands complete obedience. The man raises his glass with a casual smile, assuring that there is no need to worry about the jade issue. The woman holds a glass of wine. A slight smile plays on her face. A readiness for action glides through her eyes. The character smiles broadly as he stands in a bright room, enthusiastically suggesting that they go to the movies after work. A young woman with long, dark hair confidently declares her readiness to set out on a journey, her facial expression conveying determination. A conversation begins between the two people. One expresses genuine admiration, while the other seriously assesses the situation, emphasizing the depth of their connection and similar experiences. The young woman covers her mouth, her eyes wide with surprise. Behind her, a bright background of flowers enhances the moment, emphasizing the unexpectedness of the situation. The restaurant's red-accented facade stands out from the city's surroundings. Large windows invite visitors to look inside, and expressive signs instantly attract attention. The manager asks for help with the car, but the confident man assures him that the situation is under control. A young man with tousled hair and an expressive look confidently shares his thoughts about work, inadvertently attracting the attention of those around him. A man in a smart suit with slicked back hair greets his interlocutor with a wide smile and a slight nod, expressing his willingness to help. A modern house with panoramic windows rises against the blue sky, its glass facades reflecting the sun's rays. A man in traditional dress sits opposite a woman in a floral dress. Over cups of tea, their conversation takes on a mysterious tone. The man holds a cup confidently, talking about control over the company, reflecting on the state of the market and future prospects. A hand knocks sharply on the door, breaking the silence. The moment freezes in tense anticipation. Two women appear at the door, their opposing moods reflected in their movements. One confused, the other with a laundry basket in her hands. In the dim light of the room, two figures discuss a car. One asks what make it is. The other admits she was too far away to see the details. The woman notes with some surprise that he spends money as if he had no limits, and admits that even she could not afford such a thing. The woman hands over a gift, offering between the lines to look at a sports car, emphasizing its prestige. The man answers briefly but reservedly. The modern home is illuminated by nightlights, its smooth lines and glass panels reflecting the stars, creating an atmosphere of privacy. A young man, relaxing on a luxurious sofa, lazily scrolls through his phone, wondering where his morning passenger has disappeared to. A woman confronts two police officers at a train station, confidently claiming that they took money from her for a ticket and demanding an explanation. The young man stared at his phone screen in shock, his thoughts preoccupied with the unexpected news of one of his acquaintances' infidelity. In a dynamic scene, one of the characters, dressed in an elegant outfit, energetically expresses his opinion, while his interlocutor listens attentively, anticipating an intriguing denouement. The character confidently states that the system has the power of the prestigious company YADOU, leaving no doubt in his words. A man with bright pink hair approaches and whispers to his interlocutor about a hidden skill. At that moment, a voice announces his achievement, adding further intrigue to the scene. The young man clutches his head in amazement, his eyes wide with surprise. He is shocked by the habit he has discovered. The figure, with flowing pink hair and dressed in a robe with gold accents, stands confidently, emphasizing his authority with energetic gestures. Filled with enthusiasm, the young man reacts excitedly to something amazing, his gaze burning with delight. On a wooden surface sits a small device that flickers with incoming signals, continuously repeating the call. A young man with pink hair, relaxed on a richly decorated sofa, wonders who could have come at such a late hour. A hand clutches a round object in front of an intricately detailed wooden door, anticipation building. A woman in a revealing outfit, smiling, holds a bag in her hands, addressing a man with slight playfulness. He stands at the entrance, casually leaning against the doorframe, confidently declaring that he is not at all bothered by unexpected guests. The woman happily holds out the special watermelon, eager to share its sweet taste. He gratefully hands her the vase, but she dismissively declines, creating a playful tension between them. A woman in a blue satin top watches the city at night, lost in thought. The young man with pinkish hair smiles as he asks the question, then confidently offers to reveal his friend's face. He approaches the woman in the blue dress, noticing a sports car parked nearby. She looks at the luxurious blue car in surprise, realizing its enormous cost. A man holds a bowl, preparing to serve food, while a woman playfully turns away, her hair flowing in the moonlight. Under a striped umbrella, A man offers a woman a plate of fruit, the night enveloping them in a light warmth. A woman stands next to a sleek sports car, admiring its elegance. The man, leaning back in his chair, easily maintains a casual conversation in which the playful nature of his companion is revealed. The woman questions the rich man, wondering about his choice to work as a driver, while he decides whether to explain himself. A man sits under the night sky, holding a fork of food, contemplating the upcoming changes in his life. A hand lifts up a brown envelope, inviting Miss Sue to look at the documents that contain important information. A young woman stands outside holding a box, her eyes full of curiosity as she tries to figure out what's inside. The letter is clutched tightly in her hands. Her determination is obvious. This is not just a detail, but something that can change the fate of an ordinary person. Mr. Yang confidently reveals the secrets of time. His interlocutor listens attentively, but prefers not to reveal her methods. The young man, holding a spoonful of strawberries, declares with determination that he will not leave the enemy the slightest chance of salvation. The woman confidently holds a folder. In her hands is evidence that will make Zova regret what he did. A man leans relaxed under a striped umbrella, next to a woman whose calm gaze hints at inner composure. In a moonlit courtyard, a man in casual clothes gestures to convey the urgency of the conversation, while a woman with a tablet listens intently. A voice rings out under the night sky as the son, relieved, tells his father that Mr. Yang has agreed to let him go. A woman in a revealing blue dress hands a man an envelope, demanding his attention, her voice urgent. A stern man in an ornate jacket holds a document, his brow furrowed as he tries to understand the source of the information. She casually admits that she noticed his new 50 million sports car while sitting surrounded by traditional decor. The man in the luxurious clothes repeats the amount with disbelief, his face expressing shock. The moment of unexpected revelation turns into a tense episode. A woman with long hair confidently holds a phone, indicating that the details of the YOVU company will remain confidential. A tall figure in an elegant outfit watches a woman sitting casually with a dessert, her calm only highlighting the hidden tension. The next day, sunlight fills the spacious home, hinting at new opportunities ahead. A young man, sitting in a luxurious setting, calmly talks on the phone, discussing renting a car for a trip to buy new clothes. The woman on the other end of the line reacts animatedly to the offer of a discount, her voice sounding enthusiastic. Modern buildings sparkle under bright skies. Fluffy clouds create a serene yet vibrant cityscape. Two figures wave at the approaching car, their gestures full of energy, the sun's rays reflecting off the glass facades of the surrounding buildings. Two women were sitting in a car. One was talking about her cousin. They were discussing plans to go shopping together and greeting a man named Mr. Yang. The young man with bright pink hair turned to the passenger seat, gripping the steering wheel, and greeted his companions with a polite smile. The shop window sparkled in the sun, beckoning with luxury. One of the women noted with admiration that this was their destination, and the other confirmed her guess with undisguised enthusiasm. The driver, not hiding his confidence, suggested to his passengers to go and buy whatever they wanted, assuring them that he would wait for them outside. A woman with bright blue eyes and long hair, full of energy, invited him to join her, pointing to the heat outside and inviting him to come inside with them. The shoes, polished to a shine, reflected the light as their owner agreed with a slight smile and stepped forward. He still looked puzzled, but the girl, without hiding her playfulness, gently pushed him, insistently inviting him to go without unnecessary questions. Miss Fan greeted the guests with a polite smile, maintaining her confident posture, when someone's voice suddenly caught her attention. A striking figure with a bold expression appeared in the center of the stage. Her gaze darted toward the new arrivals, and she questioned their presence with obvious surprise. Two women stood in front of a mirror. One of them asked if they knew each other. The other, with a slight smile, joked that she had not seen such a handsome man for a long time. The young woman in the pink suit raised her hand to her mouth, hiding her surprise, and asked her companion about her marital status. The interlocutor, gesturing confidently, explained that this man was an acquaintance of her cousin and worked as a taxi driver, interweaving the story with personal connections and professional characteristics. The group discussed possible help in choosing clothes. They moved between the display cases, dropping hints about future joint decisions. The woman in the light blue dress called out impatiently for attention, her hands holding the clothes she was about to examine. A confident lady in a pink jacket asked if anyone had made a choice, her long hair gracefully swaying as she moved. The woman in pink gasped, raising her hand in surprise, and in front of her stood a mysterious figure in a light, flowing dress. The woman with short hair touched her face, and sadly admitted that she did not feel special. Another, in a pink blazer, smiled brightly as she held up her coat, raindrops settling around her as she cheerfully asked if they had picked out the right shirt. The woman firmly stated that she was not pregnant, adding that she preferred looser clothing, as everyday clothes seemed too bulky to her. The woman with the piercing gaze confidently ordered the dress she had worn first to be brought to her, making it clear that she expected her request to be fulfilled immediately. She stood in the center of the tense standoff, her gaze cold and calculating. 20 rounds later, the fight was not over. Two women in elegant pink jackets laughed and exchanged glances. One glanced furtively at the man, not revealing the hidden subtext of their conversation. The pink dress hung on a clothes rack, its fabric draping softly, highlighting the fine workmanship and exquisite design. Holding the dress in her hands, the woman confidently declared that it was her first choice. Then, without hesitation, she offered to try it on to someone else. The man raised an eyebrow slightly, smirking and nodding towards the woman, wondering if he was planning on buying something too. Speaking confidently on the phone, the woman reminded him of the importance of the choice. She made it clear that the final decision would be made after trying on the clothes. She confidently pointed to the men's section, hinting to her companion that it was time to make a choice for him too. The young girl gasped, her hand automatically covering her mouth. Astonishment crossed her face. The woman in the pink top suddenly excused herself and hurried away, her long hair flowing behind her. The worker watched her go with a puzzled look. Dressed in pink, she coughed as she tried to pull herself together, while her friend in black watched her with concern. The woman adjusted her glasses, confidently saying that there was no need to attach too much importance to what was happening. In the stylish setting, two women continued their conversation. One, in a pink blazer, enthusiastically commented on her choice of outfit, while the other, in black, nodded in agreement. A silent standoff ensued in the room. The woman, arms crossed, looked at the man, who was lazily scrolling through his phone, not paying attention to her. With long, flowing hair, she posed elegantly, waiting for a reaction. Her outfit emphasized grace and confidence. The man broke into a smile, gave her a thumbs up, and without hesitation declared that she looked great. Two women were discussing the packing process. One, in a light dress, was clarifying the details, while the other, dressed in a bright outfit, noted that their acquaintance had been very useful. She made her position clear. She had no men among her friends. This thought made her think, and she asked her interlocutor's opinion. The woman in the formal suit pointed confidently at her outfit, wanting to hear Mr. Yang's opinion. The young man adjusted his hair and commented on the choice of clothing with a slight smile, expressing obvious disapproval. The conversation smoothly turned into a discussion of purchases. One suggested buying something right away, while the other preferred to wait for a more convenient moment. A woman in a pink outfit confidently leads the others, directing them to the men's clothing department on the second floor. A figure in tailored trousers follows her up the stairs, her heels clicking rhythmically on the wooden steps. Dressed in an elegant outfit, she walks next to a man, discussing a recent incident, their conversation filled with frustration and concern. The young woman looks straight ahead, her voice even as she declares that she is pregnant, emphasizing that the child is his. The young man's eyes widen, shocked by the news, disbelief reflected in his gaze. A pair of gentle hands gently reach out to a beautifully decorated box, hinting at a thoughtful gift. Suddenly, the young man hugs the woman holding the gift. Her face expresses surprise, confused by the sudden gesture. Excited, she exclaims, covering her face with a blush that betrays her confusion. He leans closer, his voice quiet but insistent, demanding that she repeat what he said. She freezes in surprise. The woman firmly states that he must take responsibility, emphasizing every word. Two hands clasped tightly, symbolizing connection and commitment, against a backdrop of blooming flowers. A man with bright pink hair tugs at a woman's hand, her face expressing surprise as she tries to figure out where he is taking her. The young man with golden eyes firmly asserts that if this is true, they need to get married. The girl laughs, her long hair framing her face, amusement playing in her eyes as she wonders if he really believed it. The young man with pinkish hair looks puzzled, not believing that such a joke could be made. The surprised girl whispers something, playfully placing her hand on his shoulder, questioning his confidence as he considers her words. In a posh boutique, a man laughs while a woman stands confidently, hinting at ulterior motives in their conversation. She confidently reminds that they have more than 20 options, but the final decision has not yet been made. The young man comes closer, demanding an explanation, while the woman clutches her outfit, defending her point. She expresses dissatisfaction, considering him too domineering. The man threw his head back sharply, clenching his fists. She was being reckless, and he intended to teach her a lesson. In a luxury boutique, an elegant man looked at a woman with slight surprise, trying to understand why she decided to stand up for him. The pregnant woman looked at her interlocutor reproachfully, raising her eyebrow demandingly. Her persistence left no room for evasive answers. The man grabbed his companion's wrist tightly, pointing to the clothes she had chosen. She frowned, but refused to look away. The man looked over the girl's outfit, appraising Ly and, frowning, threw a reproach in her face. His companion calmly reminded him that he had chosen 20 things, but had not bought anything. The man confidently addressed Miss Wang, ordering the most expensive outfit. She widened her eyes in surprise, but nodded silently. The two elegantly dressed women exchanged glances as the man behind them spoke, clearly showing concern about the situation. A pair of hands carefully clutched an exquisite box, its intricate designs glinting in the dim light, promising contents of no small value. The man held the fragile object confidently, examining it with interest. When he asked about its value, the woman nodded, confirming that it was the most expensive item. The young man with expressive features looked around the room, then his attention was drawn to two women in pink uniforms. He wanted to know who the manager was. The woman in the business suit stood with a professional smile, her hand raised to her face. Her voice was even, as she politely asked how she could help. The young man confidently declared that he was going to buy the most expensive clothes, insisting that she take control of this process. The other woman nodded silently, assuring him of her support. Wang Yizi gave her assistant the order to accompany the man without hesitation. Her voice was confident, and she demanded that he not be distracted by anything else. One of those present asked, with obvious irritation, why the assistance was intended for only one client. Another stood motionless, demanding an explanation. The young man with the bright pink hair frowned in displeasure. He didn't understand why people tried on clothes if they weren't going to buy them. The man waved his hand confidently, emphasizing that the price of the outfit was more than affordable. He couldn't believe that they hadn't found anything suitable. The woman pointed her finger sharply at the clothes, demanding that they be collected immediately. There was no room for objection in her voice. The man locked eyes with his interlocutor as he announced the amount of 160,000. His tone was casual, but the tension in his eyes betrayed his concern. The woman expressed her opinion bluntly, wondering why they needed to buy more clothes when their house was already overflowing with stuff. The woman, pressing her palm to her stomach, began talking about her pregnancy. She demanded to know why she did not feel supported by her partner when their future remained uncertain. The man holds the woman's shoulders firmly, trying to calm her down. He promises to buy her something to cheer her up, his determined gaze contrasting with her tear-stained face. An angry man lashes out at his interlocutor, shouting accusations related to his personal consultant. The woman freezes, shocked by his sudden anger. He points his finger sharply, his expression becoming threatening. He assures that there is nothing to buy in this place, emphasizing the urgency of the situation. A man in a formal suit makes a confident gesture towards the assortment. He insists that Miss Wang choose the most expensive items and create the perfect image for herself. She looks at the young man with admiration, noting his outstanding appearance, sharp mind, and unique charm. Two women stand on the stairs, discussing the gathering of people on the second floor. They try to decide whether to intervene. In a stylish room, one of the people present calmly announces that he intends to buy something. He asks a direct question, not tolerating objections. Two women are the center of attention, one in a strict black suit with short hair, the other in a flowing blue dress. Their faces express concern. He is amazed. How did the stranger guess that he was not a taxi driver? His gaze falls on the expensive bag, and the thought of how an ordinary driver could afford such luxury does not leave him alone. Graceful hands confidently hold an elegant gray handbag with gold accents and a reflective surface, highlighting its sophisticated style. The woman declares without a shadow of a doubt that she is ready to spend money on a purchase for another. Her interlocutor holds the bag, her gaze half curious, half skeptical. A stylish lady playfully challenges a man by mentioning the price of a bag. He remains unfazed, but expresses surprise at the amount. The man gestures confidently, offering to help Miss Wang with her shopping, emphasizing that he has the money. The woman next to him is already ready to start choosing. There is irritation in his voice. He raises his tone, asking if they are really trying to force him to buy expensive things. He responds with a challenge, accusing his interlocutor of lying. If she doesn't have money, that's her personal problem. The man looks at his interlocutor carefully, expressing doubt about her intentions. She looks at him with a smirk, as if playing on his suspicions. A woman with a firm expression questions the man's priorities, not understanding why he does not want to spend money on the well-being of his own child. He makes an insistent gesture, demanding an explanation. His voice grows louder, creating a tense atmosphere. The hand is sharply extended forward. Dynamic lines emphasize the swiftness of the movement, symbolizing determination. The man squeezes his opponent's neck, his gaze is hard. He throws a sharp question, condemning the one who raised his hand to the woman. In a tense standoff, one character grabs the other by the collar, lifting him off the ground, and sharp red splashes add to the intensity of the confrontation. In the tense fight, the man, drenched in sweat, desperately begs the other to let him go, the atmosphere filled with anxiety and fear. She warns him, "You don't have to stoop to his level," showing her concern as she extends her hand. A hand reaches for his collar, frozen with intent. The air thickens as a quiet tension fills the space, hinting at an unspoken confrontation. The couple stood close together, visibly tense, as the woman, handbag in hand, announced their departure, while the man adjusted his collar, uncertainty etched on his face. A woman, clearly agitated, confronts someone, her hand outstretched. "Why don't you just finish him off?" she demands, her voice cutting through the tension. A tense moment hangs in the air as one character declares, "I can't beat him," while another stands silently, lost in thought. "Enough! We're leaving!" he cried, disappointment etched on his face, while she looked at him defiantly, insisting, "We can't just leave like this." The woman makes an assertive gesture demanding a bag. "If you don't buy it, look how I deal with my parents." Her confidence radiates, driving her point home. A man in a suit, his face tense, shouts, "Do whatever you want. It might not even be my child." Flames flicker ominously in the background. The woman screams insistently, "Bastard! Stop!" As the man hurries away, the tension is palpable in the air. A foot in an elegant white shoe confidently steps onto the stairs. The movement is clear and measured, emphasizing the transition to action. The woman lunges forward, screaming, "Kyan!" as she attacks the man in the suit, her energy palpable in the tense exchange of blows. The man asks, "Are you okay?" as he hugs the woman, who winces and replies, "It hurts." The air fills with their anxiety. A woman in a pink outfit watches with concern as a man kneels next to another woman, urging her to call for help. Concern is evident in her posture. A man carries a woman in a light blue dress as he walks towards a bright yellow taxi parked outside a stylish boutique. A determined woman stands firm, doubting her choice to sacrifice for the sake of greatness. And on either side stand two silent figures with hidden and enigmatic expressions on their faces. A young man stands in a room, turning to face a woman in a tailored suit. She suggests that he might want something different, while he expresses a need for formal attire. "Wang Jiang, make sure he finds something he likes," one says, pointing confidently at the man next to her. "Okay," the other replies, smiling. Two women discuss their outfit choices, one in a sleek black shirt and white trousers, the other in a flowing blue dress. The atmosphere suggests anticipation. The display window highlights the men's clothing section, and the text next to it hints at the question of what price range the customer prefers. In a spacious room, a young man with pink hair casually mentions that he is aiming for 3,000 coins, while an elegantly dressed woman wonders why this particular amount. He, remembering their recent conversation, confidently declares that the bonus for improving the indicators will be 3,000, and a satisfied smile appears on his face. In a stylish boutique, among numerous racks of clothing, one character asks another for details of the topics under discussion, while his interlocutor considers the possibilities of custom tailoring. Someone's hands hold a measuring tape tightly, preparing to take precise measurements. He adjusts the tape and notes that he has gained more strength. The woman watches him, assessing the changes. In a fashion store, a man stands confidently with his arms outstretched, while a woman in front of him kneels and asks worriedly about his well-being. The girl in the pink jacket frowned and asked if he had ever gone to the gym. He reflects on how the system has affected his body and, not wanting to disappoint, calmly heads to the main room. One character asserts his position with confidence, while his interlocutor expresses disbelief, creating a tense moment. A hand hovers over a bare chest, showing both confidence and doubt, as if this gesture carries something more. A smirk touched his lips, his golden eyes sparkling with mischief as he noted that despite her protests, it still bothered her. Two figures walk up the stairs, feeling quite at ease with each other, while a third one watches them with mixed feelings. A woman in a strict black blouse with a serious expression on her face announces her decision to break off relations with her cousin. She has a strong presence, standing confidently and addressing someone off camera, her tone conveying the urgency of what is happening. A woman in a pink jacket, holding a tablet, confidently talks about ordering a premium suit. The bright-eyed and enthusiastic woman thanks Mr. Yan for his support, assuring him that the order will be ready in a month. The two ladies bow elegantly in farewell as the man walks away, his confident gait drawing attention. The illuminated parking sign stands out against the modern building, clearly indicating the direction for cars. As they drove, he calmly asked where they were going. She answered without hesitation that their destination was the All-Island Hotel. Their journey continued, interrupted by moments of reflection. The sleek black car glided along the sunlit road. The driver, looking skeptically at the passenger, asked about his expensive clothes, surprised by the taxi driver's wardrobe choice. She questioned his attitude towards her cousin and other women, pointing out his reluctance to introduce her to his colleagues. The hand smoothly reached out, securing the phone to her thin waist, accentuated by a perfectly fitting white skirt. An elegant black car pulled up to a luxurious building, its facade shimmering in the sunlight, and strict stone sculptures of guards guarding the entrance. The young man with pink hair, sitting in the car, impatiently reminded the woman to call him when she finished her business, his gaze full of attention. Two women were animatedly discussing something. One, in a light blue top, enthusiastically invited the other, dressed in black, to join them. Three people stood by an elegant car near a modern building. A man in casual clothes gestured confidently, inviting the women to follow him. The group crossed the threshold confidently, announcing their arrival. A rich table laden with dishes set the stage for what was to come. The manager introduced herself to the team in a reserved manner, exuding authority. Her confident demeanor contrasted with the nervous smiles of the staff awaiting her instructions. The man, pointing to the woman next to him, introduced her as his cousin. They stood in the doorway, creating an atmosphere of familiarity. In the luxurious setting, the man in the suit smiled, and the woman in the low-cut blouse noted with some displeasure that their seats were inconveniently located. Two women were discussing something in a brightly lit room. One, in a blue dress, looked confused, while the other, dressed in elegant black, smiled encouragingly. An elegant pillow, with a mint green strap and a round decoration rested on the chair, beckoning. The young man in casual clothes looked at him with surprise. The woman in a business suit entered and, recognizing him, froze for a moment. Mr. Yang sat at the bar opposite an elegant man who, leaning forward with a glass of wine, inquired about Yang's income as a taxi driver. A young woman with short blonde hair smiled confidently as she interacted with the audience, hinting at promising investment opportunities. The young man held the jar tightly, his gaze betraying doubt. Thoughts about the intentions of those around him did not leave his mind. A confident woman spoke about her experience in investing, offering help, while a man listened attentively nearby. A sharply dressed man raised a glass of wine to an invisible audience, offering a sharp critique of their habits while offering a sensible view of investing. One of those present noted the importance of mutual understanding when joining a company, and another suggested raising a toast, hinting at strengthening friendly ties. A woman in a light blue dress raised her glass in an elegant setting, confidently proclaiming a toast, her smile radiating warmth and celebration. The woman raised a glass of red wine to her lips, her gaze focused, and the background glowing with soft, colorful highlights. The confident speaker addressed the new group, assuring them that being a stranger was temporary. He promised to guide them through the learning process. Manager Yan continued to discuss investments, noting his limited budget and desire to invest in a reliable company. He asked where his interlocutor worked. A man in a dark suit confidently raised his glass of wine, drawing the audience's attention to Tianmu Investment, assuring them of the prospect of profit. The door swings open, revealing a smooth wooden frame. A voice calls out into the silence. The waiter presents a tray with a premium white wine and a bottle of sauce with a smile. He informs the customer about the delivery, while the customer, surprised, declares that he did not order anything. The manager happily presents a bottle of wine and souvenirs, trying to please Mr. Yan with his attention. Behind the bar, a woman in an elegant outfit carefully examines a bottle, pondering something important. The bright cocktail remains untouched. Dressed in a black suit, the manager confidently holds a glass of wine, noting his guest's impressive reputation. A man in a formal suit, standing under bright lights, confidently declares his achievements, emphasizing his earned wealth and recognition. The footsteps beat a precise rhythm on the polished floor, the figure calmly apologizes for the delay, remaining unperturbed. A man with spiky blonde hair and a confident smile enters the room and asks if Mr. Yang has received his wine. A confident man in a smart suit stands before the audience. With a wide smile, he expresses gratitude, and his voice echoes throughout the room. A man in a formal suit peers intently at his interlocutor, who assertively asserts his position as an investment manager. The tension in the room is building. One of the men gestures in frustration, insisting on passing the wine, while the other calmly takes a sip. The three characters watch the dramatic scene unfold in stunned silence, their faces expressing shock and disbelief. The taxi driver, with a playful note in his voice, asks why the passenger was sent wine, and the waitress listens attentively to the conversation. Two men are engaged in a conversation. One, dressed in elegant clothes, speaks with confidence. The other, dressed more casually, answers thoughtfully. The young man in the suit leans back with a slight smile, putting his hand on his head, and notices that he has unfinished business. He reminds Mr. Yang that he is always ready to help. In a stylish room, a group of people discuss the seating arrangements, one of them smiling with undisguised excitement. The manager, holding a glass of red wine, offers to discuss investments, creating intrigue in the conversation. In a modern setting, a man, raising his glass, playfully winks an apology, and a woman returns the gesture with a confident smile. In a bright office, Manager Yan gestures, urging his interlocutor to share his investment knowledge. A lively smile is heard in response. A USB stick peeks out from the pocket of a formal suit, drawing attention with its unexpectedness among the formal image. A well-dressed man, clearly in a hurry, smiled apologetically as he spoke on the phone and mentioned an urgent call from the CEO. Mr. Yang, red wine in hand, listened motionless as his interlocutor spoke of his son's return to the company under his chosen boss. The man held a glass of wine, staring intently as he spoke. He instructed someone to contact Yaikon Luna, assuring her that there was no need to worry. A man in a suit stood at the table with a phone in his hand, urgently asking about a man named Chen, while another man listened silently. A man in a formal suit stood under the pouring drops, looking at his phone. He muttered short confirmations, his face reflecting determination. The young man sat confidently in the modern setting, engaging in conversation. He spoke casually about investments, while his interlocutor held a smartphone, ready to discuss the details. The character in the stylish white suit spoke confidently on the phone. He accepted Mr. Yang's request without hesitation, making it clear that he had no intention of refusing. The manager, dressed in a formal suit, introduced himself holding a phone and exuding a sense of ease. He spoke positively of the intriguing personality, demonstrating interest. A confident young man spoke animatedly on the phone, his white jacket standing out against the bright, glittering lighting. He emphasized the importance of the vote to the company, affirming his commitment to the cause. He raised his glass of wine, confidently assuring that he would fulfill the request. His demeanor reflected calm and firm confidence. The man in the suit was on the phone, demanding an explanation from Manager Yan about the mysterious situation. He responded with concern, confirming the details. In a fancy restaurant, a well-dressed man was asking questions to a casually dressed man who was holding a glass and looking thoughtful. The angular figure leaned forward, her shirt falling over the smooth surface. Sunlight filtered softly through the window, suggesting a moment of pause. Mr. Yang confidently stated that he was the second-largest shareholder of the Baoxing Hotel, emphasizing his influence in the business world. The man with light pink hair held a glass of red wine, thinking about the words that everything that happened was just nominal actions that had no real meaning. A well-dressed man pours wine into a glass, smiling and talking about futures investments, demonstrating confidence and professionalism. A woman in a black car asked two men standing near the car not to see her off. While driving, the driver looked out the window at the expansive landscape, thinking about the next route. The woman in the car excitedly suggested going swimming, expressing excitement about the upcoming evening. The elegant black car glided smoothly along the sunlit street, reflecting the rhythm of the city. A determined voice came from inside, emphasizing the readiness for a new adventure. The front entrance is marked in bold letters, with the words Kaiyo Daisekai, emphasizing the importance of the marine world. While the sun's rays pass through the glass doors, a girl in a bikini stands next to a guy in swimming trunks on a beach, while another figure can be seen floating in the water nearby. The young man adjusts his glasses, his focused gaze expressing determination before the upcoming test in the blue waters. A swimmer cuts through the water's surface, moving forward as the sun plays on the waves, and buildings create a dramatic backdrop. Two characters watch someone off camera with admiration, their heart-shaped eyes expressing admiration for their athletic physique. Under the blazing sun, a muscular figure stands in the water, drops sliding down his skin, while two women in bathing suits swim nearby. The hand grips tightly onto the edge of the pool, the sun's rays shimmering on the surface of the water, highlighting the tense muscles. Three people are relaxing by the pool. A young man with a towel over his shoulder glances away, while two women engage in casual conversation. Shirtless and smiling, he turns around when a woman in a bathing suit appears behind him. He starts a conversation, getting her attention. His face shows confusion as an unknown person approaches him. The bright colors of the background add to the sense of surprise. The girl playfully clings to the guy, causing him confusion. He doubts her presence, trying to understand the situation. Two women get into an argument on the beach. One furiously asserts her rights to the man. The other responds in a defiant tone. With a confident smile, the young man compliments his interlocutor, his bright eyes sparkling against the soft background. The girl poses in a black swimsuit, her long hair flowing down, and her voice sounds playful as she comments on her appearance. A shirtless man stands on the beach when a woman with flowing hair approaches him. She asks why he is there. A serious expression does not leave his face, while the woman next to him admires his appearance and asks about his work and free time. A confident woman in a revealing swimsuit approaches a fit young man who outwardly shows no interest, urging him to stay. He looks at his interlocutor in surprise, and she, dressed in a bikini, tells him that she used to be his teacher. The woman in the black bathing suit stands with an expression of doubt and disappointment. Her voice sounds uncertain as she asks if the other one is prettier. Frowning slightly, he asks why she is following him, the light playing on his wavy hair, highlighting the confusion in his eyes. A striking figure in a black swimsuit stands confidently by the pool, and a young man in swimming trunks is relaxing nearby. She notices their presence and, not wanting to interfere, decides to step aside. On the beach, a woman in a pink bikini poses, her long silver hair shimmering in the sun. Another figure nearby watches her without interfering. In a shimmering pool, a boy waves his hand, admitting that he can't swim well. A girl nearby listens intently, as if considering his words. A pink-haired swimmer glides through the water, confidently approaching someone off camera, intent on showing off his skills. Two women in bathing suits stand side by side, watching someone out of sight. One of them quietly voices doubts, questioning the other's deceptive charm. The woman stands with a confident look, her dress accentuating her silhouette, and her words confirm her conviction that attractiveness plays a key role in winning hearts. A girl teases a boy in the pool, doubting his swimming skills. He admits his difficulties, and she offers to teach him. Among the blooming roses, two figures embrace. He holds her tightly, urging her to trust as their bond grows stronger. A young man with disheveled hair stares at the girls by the pool, trying to understand what is going on. In a sunlit pool, a young man sits shirtless and a girl clings to him, insisting that he lie back down. He briefly acknowledges her request. There is a lively atmosphere by the pool. Two girls are splashing in the water, and the rest are laughing and enjoying the warm day. A man with sweat-slicked muscles turns to the woman pressed against him. She smirks and offers to take a dip in the water. Under a bright sky, two women stand side by side. One, in a flower bikini, asks the other for help, but the other only looks at her with annoyance. A pair of hands cling to the edge of the pool, glittering droplets of water trickling down. Nearby, a foot rests on the wet tile, heralding a dive. A young man with a fit body gestures, expressing his disagreement with the opinions of those around him, and at the same time calling for an end to the disputes. A girl with a confident smile discusses the club's plans with a shirtless guy. He raises two fingers to indicate his disagreement. In the midst of a light conversation, one of the interlocutors suggests going to a hotel, causing the other to suddenly become excited. A graceful hand with long flowing hair reaches forward, accompanied by a bold statement of feminine perfection. A splash of water is heard as the girl pulls the boy out of the pool. Both look excited by this unexpected event. A tense conversation ensues. She demands calm, and he warns her of the danger that could overtake them at any moment. Four people are on a sun deck by a pool, dressed in swimsuits. The man in the center glances at the three women next to him, before motioning for them to leave. Two girls in bathing suits decisively stop the group. One orders everyone to stay, and the other insistently emphasizes that no one will leave this place until the issue is resolved. A tall, muscular man stands before two women, warning them of the consequences if they dare touch him. Their surprised looks reflect the unexpected boldness of his words. The woman with long red hair smiles slightly, her green eyes sparkling as she makes a remark, addressing the person next to her with a slight reproach. In a company of 4 people, one, dressed in casual clothes, suggests calmly discussing the current situation. The girl, soaking wet, indignantly points at someone out of frame, reminding them that she was just thrown into the water, and declares that this is not the end. On the beach, 2 people argue about water-related intentions. One asks a question, the other calmly confirms his actions. A hand emerges from the shadows, clutching a cold bottle of water, ready to bring long-awaited relief from the heat. A woman in a black bathing suit gasps as she holds a sparkling bottle, while a shirtless man next to her gestures playfully. Wearing a black bikini, the girl confidently lifts a blue bottle and takes a sip, emphasizing her carefree attitude. The bright pink background enhances her cheerful demeanor. After finishing drinking the water, one of the women declares that the problem is now solved, leaving the other confused. A woman in a skimpy black swimsuit teases a shirtless man, commenting on his physique, while wondering why he hasn't spoken up until now. A playful exchange ensues. The light blue-haired woman clenches her fists, and her voice is commanding, as she demands those around her stay put. A tall woman in a decorative swimsuit announces her intention to join the group by the pool, while the others continue to enjoy the summer day. A conversation breaks out by the pool. One woman suggests leaving, but the other encourages them not to be afraid and demonstrates confidence in their abilities. A man with bright red hair and golden eyes suggests not to be distracted by extraneous things and to focus on the pleasure of the moment. At the very edge of the pool, 2 people hold hands as they head towards the water slide, while a third person waves encouragingly. 2 feet stand motionless on the tiled floor, hinting at a moment of anticipation before the action continues. A girl in a swimsuit points for help, while a shirtless guy stands next to her, both finding themselves in a tense summer scene. She crosses her arms over her chest and, looking at her interlocutor, asks a mocking question about his tastes, which supposedly deteriorated after her refusal. Wang Qiani did not immediately recognize his interlocutor, but soon asked a direct question about a possible solution to the current situation. A conflict flares up by the pool. One girl desperately tries to attract attention, while the other boldly seizes the initiative, accusing her of lying. She pointed sharply at the boy, demanding that he stay, her voice ringing with confidence as she reminded him that she had a boyfriend, not wanting to let him go. An argument broke out between them, where the shirtless young man tried to prove his case, and the girl, looking at him defiantly, insisted on her point of view. The tall man stands firmly in place, his finger pointed insistently to the side, while the woman flinches and begins to gesticulate actively, reacting to his abruptness. 2 guys clash by the pool. One confidently presses his opponent, demanding an answer, while the other remains calm, responding with short but firm words. The girl, without hiding her confidence, confessed to what she had done, stating that it was she who had pushed her rival into the water. Her audacity was in sharp contrast to the guy's confident steadfastness. The athletic young man gestures vigorously as he suggests trying out the obstacle course, standing in front of a bright blue pool. 2 muscular figures stand opposite each other at a water slide. One proposes a difficult challenge, and the other calmly agrees, without showing emotion. In the center of the territory, there is a large arch with bold letters, inviting everyone to plunge into the exciting world of attractions. 2 strong guys stand confidently on a diving platform. Around them are 3 girls in bathing suits, while one of them declares his readiness to jump first. A shirtless young man remains confident as he answers a question from a woman with a microphone. He calmly says that he works as a taxi driver. A man stands confidently under the scorching sun, and next to him is a girl in a yellow dress. They are animatedly discussing something, holding microphones in their hands. A foot hovers in mid-air above the tiled floor, waiting for the command to start. A voice counts down. 3, 2, 1, let's go! The swimmer pushes off the pink buoys, creating a powerful splash of water, performing the jump with the grace of an experienced athlete. The girl with the microphone in her hands does not hide her delight when she notes how fast the participant moves. Her emotions emphasize the general excitement of the audience. A boy with disheveled pink hair soars from the tower, arms outstretched, while inflatable tubes sway behind him, creating a breathtaking picture. The young presenter confidently holds her own on stage, admiring the taxi driver's graceful movements, thereby attracting the attention of the audience. 2 animated figures rejoiced, their images standing out against the twinkling stars, conveying a sense of genuine delight. A young man with a toned body, hangs from gymnastic rings above a swimming pool, fully focused before his next powerful move. Two athletes vault with poles, showing off their skills against a backdrop of fantastic castles and bright flags. Their movements are precise and precise. The host with the microphone enthusiastically announces an impressive performance, and the participant standing next to him receives praise for overcoming a difficult challenge. A young man with tousled light pink hair confidently challenges his opponent, urging him to test his strength in the upcoming test. In a dynamic scene, a confident young man gestures, while his rival and a girl in a bathing suit prepare for the next competitor to enter the competition. A muscular athlete charges forward as a woman in a yellow swimsuit cheers him on against a backdrop of turbulent waters. A swimmer with a panicked expression jumps off the platform and dives into the water, while another is already splashing beneath the surface. A woman with long hair laughs, pointing her finger at something funny and ridiculous, her voice sounding playful. In a swimming pool, two shirtless friends argue. One, holding a life preserver, fearfully demands that he stay away from him, while the other makes fun of his quick reaction. A young man with a beaming smile gives someone an enthusiastic thumbs up, his bare skin glistening under the soft lighting. Against the backdrop of a beach scene, a woman in a bikini presents a medal to a muscular man, admiring his strength. The woman leans over and kisses the man on the cheek in gratitude as twinkling lights sparkle around them, adding to the romantic moment. Two women stare at each other tensely by the pool. One, in a black bathing suit, demands an explanation for the kiss. The young man, wiping his forehead, doubts his opponent's resolve to challenge him, his body covered in beads of sweat. The character grins confidently, his chest glistening in the sun. He offers a challenging condition. In case of defeat, the opponent must fulfill all his demands. The woman whispers that his opponent is a great racer and he is doomed to lose. She knew the race would not be in his favor. The young man with tousled hair smiles widely and nonchalantly proclaims his martial arts expertise. A spotlight illuminates the racing banner against the night sky as the crowd behind the barrier eagerly awaits the start of the race. In the middle of the night, under the light of car headlights, a confident young man playfully gestures in front of a striking woman who hides her curiosity behind a mask of indifference. The woman with her hair flying around looks at her opponent with displeasure, expressing impatience. Her firm tone makes it clear that she is annoyed by the delays. Under the starry sky, a man with a smirk inquires about a woman's feelings for another person, but she confidently stands her ground, defending her choice. A sleek black car pulls onto a flood-lit racetrack, its headlights piercing the darkness, casting long shadows on a nearby building. A young man stands near the car, waving his arms vigorously, arguing with his partner over the choice of vehicle. The tension is palpable, even in his posture. Under the starry sky, two figures exchange glances, one of them impatiently asking about the other's arrival time. The conversation turns to racing habits, with one character mocking the other, revealing a competitive streak, and their exchanges taking on a slightly challenging tone. Three men standing near racing cars show their readiness to start the race. One of them decisively announces the start of the race. While driving, the man notices the reaction of his companion, who, with a grin, asks about his skills in night racing. He flares up with indignation, considering the established rules of the race absurd, the tension in his voice underscoring his irritation. At the start, a confident woman in a black dress and red cap waves a checkered flag, loudly asking the final question about the participants' readiness. The figure rushes forward with a powerful start, representing excitement and determination, marking the beginning of an intense race. Two cars race down the track. One of them accelerates sharply, leaving the rival behind, and bright red lights flash across the sky. A woman with green eyes and long brown hair notes the slow speed with displeasure, emphasizing her impatience. A young man with bright green eyes questions the need for haste, while another rider reminds that the key is control in the corners. The foot presses hard on the pedal. A sharp jerk of the car is accompanied by a short command about readiness. A racing car approaches a shadowy opponent, its headlights flashing on the asphalt. The driver's voice marks the critical moment of the race. The driver tightens his grip on the steering wheel, his gaze remains focused. Irritably, he makes a remark about the loud screams of the passenger. The tension builds inside the car. The woman defiantly declares that she enjoys the race. He incredulously admits that she actually managed to hook him. A bright sign with the words, "Prepare to turn," stands out against the dark sky, foreshadowing a sharp maneuver. The driver grips the steering wheel, his gaze directed forward. The speed does not decrease. He is completely focused on the upcoming maneuver. Fingers run across the dashboard. The speedometer freezes at 80, creating a sense of urgency. A racing car skids around a sharp turn, leaving bright speed trails behind it, while a black competitor is left behind, trying to keep up. The driver shouts out a question in confusion, not believing that he has been overtaken. The race heats up, especially as they approach a dangerous turn. A woman leans out of a car window, making small talk, her hair flying and her smile confident. The green car zooms past the slower car, leaving a trail of speed behind it. Cries of encouragement fill the air. In the darkness of the car, the man holds the phone tightly and angrily reminds his interlocutor not to shout. Two cars line up side by side at the start of a night race, engines roaring in anticipation of a high-speed battle. The woman looks out the window, her voice breaking with panic. Someone is following them, and she is trying to warn them. The man, holding the steering wheel confidently, convinces his companion that they will not be caught. The night sky stretches out over the road. Two cars race side by side, one dark and stern, the other with racing stickers flashing in the headlights. A woman dressed in a spectacular outfit casts a disappointed glance at her interlocutor, who clearly did not live up to her expectations. The colorful racing car takes a sharp turn, demonstrating control and precision of the maneuver. In the tense silence, she makes a statement that makes the man tighten his grip on the steering wheel. His eyes remain glued to the road. A black boot presses sharply on the pedal. The metal surface of the car bends slightly under the pressure. A racer assesses the situation before a difficult turn. Another car is racing nearby, intending to seize the advantage. A sports car with bright graphics quickly passes a dark sedan, adding drama to the race. The woman panics and sinks into her seat, desperately calling for help. Her fingers convulsively clutch the car's upholstery. The driver, holding the steering wheel tensely, tries to cope with the turn. Sweat appears on his forehead. A black car speeds past pedestrians as a large billboard hangs over the road, illuminating the chaos. A polished boot touches the asphalt, drawing attention to the emerging figure. A tall man stands by the car, and his companion leans on the hood, exhaling deeply. The woman touches his arm, acknowledging that it is just a race. Winning doesn't matter to her as long as he is happy. A clenched fist emerges from the shattered earth, tension in the air. The man, with anger in his voice, blames her for what is happening, escalating the violent confrontation. He shouts at her to get out of the car as she recoils, her face contorted in pain. In the heat of the conflict, he suddenly grabs her head, demanding an explanation, feeling fear from what is happening. Their exchange of glances takes place near a luxurious racing car. One man urgently warns the other while the woman is caught between them, becoming the epicenter of the escalating conflict. A woman with long red hair and a black bikini sharply demands an explanation, her wide eyes reflecting surprise at the incident involving another person. He looks at her with some hesitation, firmly stating that he has an aversion to one of the people present, and demands that she be kept away. Under the night sky, two figures stand opposite each other. One clenches his fist in defiance, while the other smirks, adding fuel to the conflict. A self-confident man, gesticulating energetically, boldly announces the bets, intending not to lose face in front of the public. One of the men rudely demands to know who his opponent thinks he is, while the latter, remaining unperturbed, calmly answers the challenge. The black boot glides quickly across the blue surface, attracting attention with its graceful movement. With a sharp movement, he lifts his knee, aiming the blow straight at his opponent. The force of the impact is carried through the air, demonstrating the heated confrontation. One of the men, kneeling, clutches his stomach in pain, while the other, with a sarcastic smile, offers to settle the conflict before it escalates further. One character suddenly grabs another by the throat, uttering a cold warning, hinting at the danger to come. In a tense situation, someone desperately demands that a prisoner be released, while another figure persistently calls for the group to stop the action, adding to the tension of the situation. A figure with tousled hair and piercing green eyes looks at the enemy defiantly, mockingly asking if he wants to join the fight. A woman squeezes a man's shoulder, warning him against possible connections with a dangerous person, while an invisible observer listens intently to their conversation. The young man gasps, panic in his voice, clutching his throat as beads of sweat glistened on his skin. One of the men angrily accuses the other of being crazy, pointing his finger at him, while the other only smirks in response, not taking what he said seriously. A verbal conflict flares up under the night sky. One of the participants indignantly reminds him of his father, but the other angrily retorts, accusing him of being spoiled. The man warns his interlocutor, stating that he did not mention the call, but reminds him that it is not over. His extended finger emphasizes the the demand to pay attention to his words. The character leans forward casually, arms crossed over his chest, a sly smile on his face. His gaze lingers on his interlocutor, and he curiously asks about his father's origins. One character raises his voice to emphasize his family's influence, while his opponent maintains a dismissive indifference. The character smirks confidently, his words sounding with a threatening undertone, leaving no doubt about the possible consequences. The figure watches a black car with a bright yellow logo speeding around a racetrack, focusing on the speed and competition. A man leans on a car door and stares at a woman standing next to him while she can't take her eyes off him. The woman declares her devotion, expressing her desire to follow him, her words sounding firm and decisive. The man takes a step back, claiming he is not interested, while the woman insistently demands to be heard. A woman in a black bikini stares at her interlocutor, asking a provocative question about his self-confidence. Her voice trembles with emotion as she recalls her ex's words, her pale blue hair shimmering softly in the light. Two women in stylish swimsuits are heatedly discussing the situation, one of them expressing doubt about what she heard. The hand confidently reaches for the car door handle, ready to take the next step. In the light of the dashboard, a playful dialogue breaks out between them. She interrogates him about his intentions, and he answers evasively. In the car under the night sky, she offers him to rest, and he hints that there is a better option. The woman abruptly refuses, challenging the man, while he calmly asks why she even brought up the issue. The car moves easily into the night, its taillights flickering as they disappear into the dark horizon. A modern skyscraper towers over the city, its windows reflecting the nightlight. Someone's voice breaks the silence, calling for people to go outside. Wang smiles as he assesses his interlocutor's outfit, noting that restraint could have made her look even more expressive. A tall figure with long pink hair stands next to a black car, thoughtfully watching the illuminated building. The young man, leaning on the steering wheel, lazily offers to take a few more orders, his relaxation contrasting with the bustle around him. An elegant modern building towers over the city, its golden sign hinting at prestige and comfort. The driver leans out of the car, looking at the passenger, and asks whether a taxi order has been made. Having received an affirmative answer, he nods slightly, establishing contact. Inside the car, two figures sit side by side. One is focused on driving, the other is deep in thought, oblivious to the movement outside the window. The car reaches the bridge as instructed. The city lights create a soft glow against the night sky. The question of where to stop remains open. A young man with tousled hair and expressive eyes speaks insistently, his gestures emphasizing the seriousness of his words. The taxi is parked near the embankment, its headlights illuminating the dark road. The driver leaves a reminder to keep an eye on your belongings next time. The white sneaker rests on a blue surface, and the thoughts of second chances hint at an alternative path or another possibility. The young man ponders the concept of another life with disbelief, his gaze full of curiosity and doubt as he evaluates the meaning of his existence. Near the car, under the starry sky, one figure adjusts his shirt as he steps outside, while the other remains in place, watching every movement. He cups his hands around his mouth and shouts out a call to those around him, as if inviting them to enjoy the view of the river. His gaze stops at the surface of the water, his thoughts rush into the depths of awareness of his own role in this world. Leaning on the railing, one of them asks a question about a possible quarrel with a partner, and the second, immersed in emotions, does not immediately answer. His movements become abrupt and emotional as he speaks, expressing both protest and confidence in his position, rejecting the imposed feeling of guilt. A young man with blonde hair and bright orange eyes raises his eyebrows, curiously asking if his partner was a traitor. His confident gestures emphasize the persuasiveness of his speech, while the interlocutor listens intently, waiting for the conversation to develop further. His eyes widen in shock, his mouth drops open in amazement as he reacts sharply to what he's heard, and the background seems to explode with bright flashes. On a bridge under the stars, one of them claims to have realized something important, and asks the other if he can take him home. The young man with pink hair touches his cheek in concern and, smiling slightly apologetically, explains that his shift is over, but he can call another car. The figure walks across the smooth floor, her white shoes standing out against the shiny tiles. As she moves, a question about time is heard. Two characters cross paths under the night sky. One of them shows impatience, the other responds with a slight smirk, trying to smooth things over. In a conversation under the stars, one speaks of his home in Highland, while the other easily assures that it is not far away. Two figures approached a dark car parked near the pond. One of them motioned for the other to get in, emphasizing the urgency of the moment. A large building loomed in the distance, lights flickering in its windows. One of the passengers announced their arrival. The young man in the car enthusiastically invited his friend to join him, his voice reflecting genuine enthusiasm. One of them, dressed in casual clothes, resolutely refused to drink, expressing a desire to return home. His firm posture emphasized his determination. Two friends were sitting in a car discussing details. One suggested exchanging contacts, and the other insisted that they get out of the car. A figure stepped out of the elegant car, its silhouette standing out against the night city. Saying a short TCH, it confidently moved forward. The young man, sitting in the car, stared at the message about the virtual currency system, analyzing millions of possible transactions. The man with tousled light brown hair looked puzzled as he processed the staggering amount of virtual funds, while pink patterns flashed around him. The modern villa stood under a starry sky, its smooth glass walls reflecting the light. Everything was serene. In a spacious room, a man held a phone, wondering if he should watch something. He was wearing a white shirt and striped shorts. The character, addressing viewers on the phone, showed an image of an attractive girl in casual clothes, asking for support. A finger hovered over a brightly colored round button with a rocket icon ready to fire, symbolizing action. With his hands folded in a heart shape in gratitude, the character playfully turned to his friend and enthusiastically began preparing to perform the song. The young man with bright pink hair smiled confidently while holding the phone and offered to help with a request, expressing optimism. A woman with long hair and bunny ears looked at the screen and said that she had a new admirer, her voice sounding playful. He enjoyed the song, casually sharing his thoughts while sitting on a luxurious sofa with a phone in his hand, inviting discussion. The girl with the bunny ears happily thanked the mysterious creature, declaring her intention to start singing. The background was illuminated by bright stars. In a lively conversation, the characters discussed earning opportunities, emphasizing their ambitions and desire for financial success. A well-dressed man, holding a phone in one hand and a cigarette in the other, grinned as he talked about his generosity, deliberately downplaying the significance of the gifts. A young woman with long flowing hair and a wide smile took a selfie while holding her phone against the backdrop of a brightly colored scene. The character watches the screen intently, counting down the seconds until the start of the hidden star show. A hand glides over a softly glowing surface, and words appear on the screen confirming the need for care. The woman, dressed in an elegant outfit, glances at her phone and indifferently declines the invitation, pointing out that it is just a formal contract. Her gaze freezes on her phone screen as thousands of requests for the rocket flash before her eyes. She finds it hard to believe that he's claiming it has nothing to do with her. The young man lounges lazily on a luxurious sofa, casually holding his phone in his hand. With a smirk, he offers to continue the conversation, demonstrating complete confidence. Fingers carefully lift a crumpled piece of paper from a stone ashtray, smoke slowly rising upward, hinting at something important. The businessman frowns as he studies his phone screen. With obvious disappointment, he mumbles the figure of 200,000, then suggests that they put the matter off until tomorrow evening. He looks up from his phone and asks with interest why the meeting was postponed, noting the tension of the moment. The pop-up notification is surprising. A stream of messages fills the screen, making the user hold his breath. The excited young man enthusiastically invites his brother to join the live broadcast, offering to watch a film together. In a spacious room, a young man in striped shorts and a shirt wearily presses his palm to his forehead, complaining about the discomfort of his clothes. The next morning floods the modern home with bright light, highlighting the elegance of its architecture and clear glass windows. A quiet room, the sun's rays fall softly on the floor, and the young man sleeps peacefully, his breathing almost inaudible. Holding the phone intently, he says a short, "Hello?" waiting for an answer with unwavering confidence. A woman excitedly exclaims into the phone, announcing that someone has scored 610 points, emphasizing the significance of this achievement. The young man leans back in his chair, relaxed, talking on the phone. In one sentence, he mentions his arrival today, and in another, he hints at a relationship that has ended and a new stage in his life. Dressed in a white top, the woman with a joyful smile animatedly discusses the details of the upcoming dinner, not hiding her enthusiasm. A hand knocks insistently on the door, filling the hallway with an echo, instantly drawing attention to the sound. A quiet conversation ensues, with the woman casually mentioning their recent breakup and casually talking about her mother. The man, clearly taken aback, stands there, confused, processing what he's heard. In the dim light of the hallway, a couple crosses the threshold, and a woman in an elegant dress asks the man a question, her voice reflecting a mixture of surprise and doubt. The young woman confidently defends her point of view, declaring that her opinion of the situation was correct, and now everyone can see for themselves. A casual conversation ensues between the two characters. One doubts the merits of the other, while the other, with a slight grin, downplays their importance, emphasizing their mutual understanding. He leans back casually on the sofa, a relaxed smile tugging at his lips. In conversation, he notes that the exams were passed thanks to someone else, and asks what university was chosen. A young woman in a pastel dress holds a carton of milk and a glass in her hands, smiling mischievously and asking for advice. One of the characters leans forward curiously, asking about the future plans of his interlocutor, who casually mentions a desire to specialize in a rare field. A young man with a stylish hairdo raises a glass, showing interest in another character's career aspirations, and asks about professional ambitions. She admits her hesitation with a playful smile, her light tone attracting attention, while the interlocutor listens attentively, balancing between curiosity and amusement. A woman in a light dress enters the room with a phone in her hand and cheerfully announces that she has found a talented 23-year-old girl for an upcoming meeting. A young man with disheveled hair and a serious expression asks his uncle about the rapidly developing wedding preparations. One of the characters expresses a reluctance to meet anyone, and his interlocutor, with a cheerful smile, reminds him of an approaching significant birthday. A young woman with pastel hair and a playful expression hints to her friend that it would be better to agree to the proposal to avoid further trouble. The hand holds the phone, the screen of which displays a list of chats with bright icons, creating a sense of anticipation. A woman in a white dress is talking on the phone, while another in a blue dress is laughing next to a man who is engrossed in scrolling through his device. A young woman with bright pink hair smiles while holding a phone and preparing to share a photo by adding a call to the moment. The character looks at the phone in disbelief, eyes wide as an unexpected figure appears on the screen, causing surprise. A girl with long hair and a blue hairpin gasps in shock as she holds her phone, while the surroundings flash with bright colors. The owner of a piercing gaze and expressive facial features questions the decision taken, demanding an explanation of its validity. She points to the phone screen, showing a photo, drawing attention either to her elegant style or to an interesting tourist spot, assuring that there is something more hidden there. A woman in an apron holding a spatula sharply warns against empty talk, remaining focused on her work. The woman remarks with annoyance that her stay at home has been too short, while the man, with a phone in his hand, carefreely suggests spending time elsewhere. The kitchen grew tense as one woman, holding a spatula, declared that if she left, she would not return. Another sharply questioned her concentration on the conversation. The girl gesticulated vigorously, encouraging the guy to take her to the university. He answered hesitantly, showing indecision in choosing their further path. She warned him, advising him not to listen to the other one and to invite the girl to dinner, hinting at the urgency of this proposal. The conversation got heated when she demanded that he fulfill her request or she would get angry. In response, the guy shrugged his shoulders and promised to invite the girl to dinner. The young man with tousled hair and bright green eyes thought curiously about the stately hostess of the house, considering the possibility of inviting her. A confident woman in an apron waved a spatula, assuring those around her that she had already spoken to her mother and that she would definitely come. A young woman with light pink hair held two smartphones and animatedly proposed plans for a date. The conversation grew more tense, with one waving her spatula, urging the other to concentrate on her cooking and not get distracted. The pastel-haired girl looked at her phone in confusion, disappointed that after sending so many messages, she only received a simple hee hee. The boy with the pink, tousled hair smiled widely, mockingly asking the other person how much he knew about the situation, showing a playful interaction. After reading the message, she became more and more convinced that he was a bad person. When he handed over the phone, he warned her to be careful with that girl. A woman with a bob haircut stood in the kitchen doorway, wearing an apron and oven mitts, announcing that it was time to eat. The woman admired the dish, noting its appetizing appearance. Another suggested leaving an extra portion for later. The smartphone lay on the table, softly gleaming in the light. Soon, a notification appeared about a new message requiring attention. In a cozy restaurant, a woman with a phone stood frozen, holding chopsticks. A man, serious and focused, insisted that such a dinner was too extravagant for a first date. The woman in the apron tried to calm him down with concern, explaining that he could go there, but the place was really too expensive. A young man with soft features and a stylish hairstyle cheerfully assured his companion that his income allowed him not to worry about this, urging her to eat before the food got cold. The hotel's elegant facade and traditional sign attracted travelers with the promise of comfort and luxury in a bustling city. He waited patiently at the table, occasionally glancing at his watch. She had promised to come at 7, but she was already an hour late. The young man with the brightly colored hair stared at his phone, considering the situation. He reasoned that if she wasn't going to come, she could have simply refused instead of being so rude. A finger hovered over the phone screen, displaying 2 text messages. One about a long wait, the other about a low battery and an impending arrival. The young man stands confidently, holding his phone in his hand, reflecting on his past decisions, wondering why he spent so much on her last night. The stage displays a variety of dishes, a colorful assortment of seafood, golden brown bread, seared tuna, and glossy squares of dessert, their exquisite appearance contrasting with the diner's disappointment. The waiter, with a slight smile, approaches the customer, offering his help and waiting for the order. In a modern setting, one character with flowing hair asks another to open a food container, sparking a moment of curiosity. They look at each other, their gazes full of surprise, while the silent question hangs in the air. Is this really a trap? The character confidently states that his grandmother cooked the food and asks to heat it up. A woman, elegantly dressed, with a soft smile, announces that such services are not available, her silhouette standing out against the falling rain. A young man with shining eyes and expressive gestures confidently offers to take 2 bottles of the most expensive wine, checking whether the interlocutor will agree. The woman expresses surprise at his confident generosity, while the man, appreciating the high price of the wine, emphasizes the seriousness of such a decision. A waitress serves dessert to a man at a table with a smile, who relaxes and enjoys his drink and food, expressing gratitude. An elegantly dressed man stands next to a woman in a stunning outfit. Their contrasting looks create a dramatic dynamic, hinting at a powerful partnership. The character raises a glass of wine, thoughtfully reflecting on his decision not to send the photo, feeling noticeably relieved. In a fancy restaurant, a silver-haired woman is annoyed by someone's lateness, while a man with a glass of wine looks at a photo sent by his mother. The woman leans closer to the man in the suit with a playful smile, recalling the conversation and wondering if the man was his ex-boyfriend. A confident man smirks, turning his attention to someone off-camera. A woman behind him pauses, hesitating before attempting to intervene. The man gestures insistently, offering to join in, but his interlocutor, remaining calm and indifferent, firmly refuses. Tension hangs in the air. The man in the suit smiles confidently, commenting on what is happening, and the woman next to him giggles, hinting at an inside joke and at the same time reminding him of something important. She quickly picks up her phone, which shows 1958 on the screen, and asks if he has plans with the secret star, hinting at an arrangement. A man with tousled pink hair holds a glass of wine, grinning curiously as he watches those around him with casual confidence.